Game begin.
Hello and welcome to Spike Colony, episode 14. I am here with the fearless Michael J. Flores, and I'm your main host, co-host, normal host. We're equal hosts. Lover, Lanny Huang.
It's not equal. It's that I'm Fearless Taylor's version. Just so you know.
And I'm but Lover.
Yeah. There's two versions of me, but I'm the Fearless Taylor's version.
So nearly everything went to plan on the pre-modern Super Series. Is it Super Series or Showdown Series? Actually, it's Showdown Series.
Showdown.
On the PSS last
week.
It
should really be a showcase, right? Like, hey, what do we get? What do we got in the case? Oh, I don't know, a 62 card Golgari Secret Force deck. We got like an uncastable mana base important counterspell deck. Well, that sounds great. What is that, like mono blue 12/12? No. All the creatures are white. And it's got red removal. Oh, you'll love it. Can't cast anything. It's got mountain.
You can't be doing Mike Arnold like that. You got to call out some other lists.
It's got Flooded Strand. You'll love it. It's great. Oh, but there is a mono blue 12/12 deck. Yeah, it's a product of pure hubris.
Oh no.
I have to say, Alvaro against your next week's impending opponent, Rich Shea. Alvaro played awesome against Rich.
Yeah, he was thinking it was a payback for the Spring Fling of last year, or the Fall Brawl of last year, when Rich just had shrimp for breakfast in these BO5s all throughout the tops. He lost every game one and won every post-sideboard game, but he couldn't pull it out against Alvaro.
Alvaro played awesome against Rich in that match, and then BK lost all of his channel points betting on Alvaro in the week that he was up against Jeff.
Elves is just good against Dreadnought. We've that could be a good topic for today. But
do you know what Elves is not good against? Goblins. It's real bad. I tested
technology.
No, I tested.
Did you test the technology?
For many hours. I tested 2+2 Natural Orders main deck. So it's if you're a basketball fan, I think maybe you can understand this. For the I think I won a game. I don't know. I think I lost every single game won. I think I won a game. I lost a game that I natural ordered for Verdant Force and then natural ordered one of the Verdant Force tokens for Phantom Neshoba. I lost the game by a mile. Right? Like so here's the problem. If everything goes right for you, you can win. If a tiny bit doesn't go right for you, you can't win. So I actually spent the time to see what the most powerful green creatures in pre-modern are. And Verdant Force is actually...
Yep, Verdant Force is it.
Sadly, it's actually the most powerful green creature.
It's not a coincidence that's what we're natural ordering for.
And my nameless playtest partner just casually Goblin Matron for Sharpshooter, and it just completely turns off Verdant Force. Not only that, like something worse can happen to you with all these triggers going. Even with the natural order package, the matchup is like 99% in favor of Goblins. It's so bad.
You got to get
it was bad before.
Your own Mastercores and Sharpshooters going.
Dude, it's everything has to go right. Like I had a game where I was just like, okay, this will make sense. I had anger. Okay, I have anger. Okay, this is sweet. I'm just gonna get Verdant Force. I'm like, oh shoot, if I get Verdant Force, it's not gonna be good enough. I'm gonna get Neshoba, and Neshoba got in for 7. I'm like, okay, I got this. Just gained 7 life, and then there were 3 pile drivers in play the next turn, and I got attacked for more than 20 damage, and all my mana was tapped because I was busy making an undercosted 7/7 trample lifelink. Okay, it's not lifelink. To be clear,
Spirit Link.
It's some sort of bought off the back of a truck knockoff lifelink.
Yeah, it's Boomer
But
lifelink.
I had it. And it was not good enough.
Boomer lifelink is actually hard to come by in pre-modern. It's dramatically harder to come by.
It's trigger, right?
Yeah.
You could stifle that. You could stifle that. Oh man! Speaking of stifling things, I stifled all kinds of stuff in testing. But I got to tell you, if you thought that Natural Order was going to be the way that Elves was going to get out of the Goblin match, I was so excited. I was just like,
we've done it.
I'm going to switch on to Elves for the 1.5K. Nobody's going to see it coming, right? Like, oh, they're never going to put me on Elves. I'm going to be Elfman.
Danny Elfman?
Danny, I'm gonna compose the Batman theme from 1989. Dude, I could be Lanny
Elfman next week.
And it is not good enough. Like, I cannot stress how not good enough it is. And I mean, I think Goblins probably gonna be the most popular deck of the 1.5K. I think it's gonna be like Goblins and 12-12 and whatever reasonable deck you're gonna play.
Yeah, I'm just playing a deck with 4 deep analysis. Like I just have like 10 notes in my phone right now that just start 4 deep analysis in bold, and then the rest of the deck is under there.
Goblins is so good.
So to give the listeners a little bit of background, I believe the pilot's name is Demian Vernieri. He had won the South American National Championships, National Pre-Modern Champs, with Natural Order Elves. He's a regular on the Magic Online scene. Yeah, Damien, I guess it's probably pronounced Damien. Damien, I'm going to try. Vernieri. Right, that sounds like European.
Now you're making it...
Vernieri. How would you say it with the Spanish? I don't know.
I still have a video of this where my daughter, she was a chess prodigy before she quit. She's a little kid, right? And she's explaining to me the Italian game. And she's like, this is what the Italian game is. And it's amazing. And so I'm like, oh, can you tell me about this? So I have it like from my original like iPhone 4 or whatever. Of her, she's like, and then the Italian game, you start like this. And so I was making fun of her for saying it wrong. But then my sister was just like, that's just because she learned from reading instead of from listening to people. Yeah, you should be like, like she's even smarter than that, right? So like, why would you make fun of her for that? And I'm like, shut up. She's smarter than me. She was a little kid. I don't have any more bullets in the gun. This is it. This is all I've got. Yeah. Your 6-year-old could read and beat you at chess. Congratulations.
I love that. That's like a callback to that one Simpsons line that I'm going to butcher, where Chief Wiggum is like, get those Italians, and then he's like, Chief, and he's like, oh my bad, those Italian Americans. But this is Natural Order Elves. It basically cut some of the bullets, trimmed a Lanor Elf so that it could fit in 2 Wall of Roots, 2 Natural Order, and 1 Verdant Force in the main deck. I cut Deranged Hermit. And then the sideboard. We're talking about the champion list, okay, Mike? Yeah, we can talk about your changes to the established winner of an 82-person tournament after I'm done.
All right, man.
Sideboard,
good idea.
Sideboard, 2 additional Natural Orders, and 1 Phantom Neshoba as an additional Natural Order target. This is pretty exciting technology. I think it conceivably could turn around the Goblins and Burn matchups. I took a version of this for a spin that had some, of course, signature changes.
So probably added about 6 Mox Diamonds.
I didn't add Mox Diamonds.
You would have. But I did. This deck doesn't have enough lands to add Mox Diamonds.
But I did feel like the deck was a little short on Phyrexian Ragers, so I went with Wall of Blossoms instead of Wall of Roots. But tell us about Michael J's Force Elves.
Cut the Well Wisher. No more wishing anybody well, which I think Damien had already done.
Yeah.
And
does Well Wisher win any? Like, did Well Wisher ever win any games?
There's actually a lot of spots. You know what's Well Wisher's pretty good at? Racing 12-12.
Yeah.
It just gets you 1 or 2 extra life that you need to, because 12 is 24.
Yeah, you need to get to 25 life. Yeah.
It's just 25. It's like a time walk. It's actually pretty good at that. But, so I cut the 4 Tangle Misers, which everybody complains about anyway. Like Mike Arnold just played like Herloon Minotaur. He's just like, oh, I'm so good. I'm just going to play Herloon Minotaur instead of Tanglemizer. Look it up. If you're making fun of me, look it up. Mike Arnold, top 8 of the Spring Fling. I commentated the match. 4 Herloon Minotaurs in his Elves deck. How we got RR for them, couldn't tell you. But he had them. You're laughing. You're saying that he had Herloon Minotaur in his deck. Better than Tanglemizer is so bad, he played Herloon Minotaur. Anyway, so I cut 4 Tanglemizers in the Well-Wisher for the 2 Wall of Roots that you mentioned, Lanny. 1 Verdant Force, which again is the actual best green creature, most powerful green creature in the Pre-Modern format, and 2 Natural Orders. Sideboard, I played the additional 2 Natural Orders like you do, or like Damien did anyway. 1 Phantom to Shoba, and I added a Wood Ripper. Why? Because I didn't realize it cost 1 to activate Wood Ripper. I was just like, this is awesome. I'm gonna roast all these decks. I'm like, what?
I mean, Wood Ripper has the drip.
I think it's still good enough to play, but man, is it less good than I thought it was. And then I played like multiple Wall of Blossoms in my sideboard. So I was just, I just mono wall deck. I think I once beat Phil Nguyen with Elves in a meetup because I had a Wall of Blossoms in my sideboard that I drew. So going up to 2 Wall of Blossoms seemed pretty powerful.
Blossoms is really good against Goblins and Burn.
Yeah, well, I got browned repeatedly. I was put in the oven. I was put in the toaster oven. I was put on the grill. I was put on the griddle. I started out brown. I was extra brown.
I probably would have sous vide first and then gone for a really quick sear on the Michael J.
The sears were often quick. Some of the ones I was like, oh, I think I'm going to win this one. It just, here's the thing about the Elves players. Some of there's Elves players, look, I know people say that the Goblin matchup isn't good, but I've gotten it. I agree. I'm not taking this away from you. I'm sure you've gotten it. Everything has to go right. Like, every little thing has to go right. Like, the Cavs won the 2016 NBA championship. They paired up against the Warriors 4 years in a row. The Warriors won 3 of those and then took like a year off or whatever and then went and won last year, right?
25%, baby.
Here's the thing about the Warriors versus the Cavs. Are the Cavs as good as the Warriors? No. Are the Cavs a historically good team? Yes, the Warriors are just the best team. Here's the problem. The Cavs got games, and they got one of those championships. And everything had to go right. Like, literally everything had to go right. Kevin Love had to play defense for 1 possession at the end of 2016, and he did. Look at Kevin Love's highlight reel. He is not a great defender. Did he contain the greatest offensive guard of all time? For 30 seconds he did, and that was good enough. Everything has to go right. Like, oh, we can't have like one turn, we can't have a slip up, you can't miss an open layup. You can't do it. You need your freaking anger in the graveyard. You need to hit your stupid mountain. All this stuff has to happen. You cannot turtle up. Have you read the text on Goblin Sharpshooter? In a sideboarded game, they might have 2. This is very, very bad for you. BK thinks the Goblin Sharpshooter is, quote, the better Goblin pile driver. That's how we do it. If you do it like that, the Elves is dead. If the Elves is dead, you better hope that your stupid wall is going to you have 2 walls and 2 Natural Orders in the main deck. And to pair them up, that is not a high percentage of thing to happen. If you see your whole deck, maybe it is. The freaking Goblins that can kill you on the 3rd turn.
Fair enough. Any more insight you want to leak ahead of our big 1.5K tournament here in New York next week?
Everybody should play Elves if they want to.
Play Goblins.
If they want to see me play Goblins. They're just like, hey, Michael J., I heard you want to meet up with Goblins. I did. Would you like to see me play it again? Your deck is hideous. Like, I heard you couldn't tell the difference between Goblin War Chief and Siege Gang Commander. I can't. I don't know which art is which. In fact, my Goblin War Chiefs look a lot like some versions of my Gem Palm Incinerators. I have 4 different arts of 2 of those cards in my deck. Have you seen my Mog Fanatics? They look like a Christmas card themed. I would play it if you all told me you're going to play Elves. I'm like, we're all going to play Elves. I'm like, all right. I guess I can dust off these foil Mog fanatics that Lanny says are marked.
I didn't say. I do not recall.
Wasteland
Wasteland is probably better than Port in the Elves matchup too. Wasteland putting up a lot of points over Port these days. Did you make a decision on Wasteland or Port, or were you gonna be surprised with it on Saturday?
I found Wasteland to be consistently super impressive.
Yeah,
super impressive. I haven't played Port. I don't know. I watch people do their videos. I'm like, look at how good Port is. Anybody who says Wasteland is better is a dum-dum. I'm like, well...
Whose videos, Mike? Whose videos are we talking about?
These guys are all dummies. Oh. So I've historically claimed for a long time that my favorite Magic streamer was Covert Go Blue, and my second favorite Magic streamer was Andrea Mangucci. I have claimed that for a long time. Now, did Andrea Mangucci lose a lot of points in the last couple of months for playing Skullcrack? And just not like flagellating himself on camera for playing Skullcrack. Yes. Do I still think he's hilarious and a good streamer? Yes. But who have I just been binging nonstop, not watching anybody else's stupid streams but his? F. Pauls.
Yep.
F. Paluche.
None other than Francisco Paluchek, friend of the podcast. Shout out. He was like, I can't believe that you guys did like 15 minutes on Mono Green Oath without mentioning Fran Oath. And I was like, Mike hasn't seen Fran Oath. Once he gets to the video, I'm sure he'll be hyped. Sure enough.
There's another Fran Oath that's up today. I haven't seen it yet.
Sure enough, a week later, Mike's just like, isn't Fran's Oath deck just like better than the Mono Green Oath deck? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like...
All right, so here's the problem. This is so dumb. No, we won't even believe this. Okay. So I have an email address. Let's say that my email address is ivefay, ithway, oresflay. That's a code at gmail.com. Let's say I have YouTube subscriptions on that. Let's say I also have a YouTube channel that uses the same email address. I didn't know this. I have two different sets of YouTube subscriptions. One that's based on my own YouTube channel and one that's just me. Like, weird, right? So I don't know which one is subscribed to who. So like if I just go on I watch on my TV, right? My TV is just my profile, and then like it just brings up my subscriptions. Like Andrew Cuneo. So I watch all of Andrew Cuneo's videos on my TV. But then if I go to my computer, only if I log into my YouTube channel, which I haven't updated since I got my new job a couple months ago, does it remind me that I'm subscribed to Fran? So they're like two different sets of subscriptions. Look, man, I don't know. Do you know what I did? I subscribed to Fran on my TV.
Yeah.
That's what
now we will not miss an episode.
So today I knew that he got a new green-white Terrageddon or whatever. I don't know the name of it. There's a picture of a Terravore. I think it says new green-white Terrageddon video. And I thought I'd watched it already because I had watched some of his green-white Terrageddon content. But apparently it's a brand new one. It was just up a couple hours ago. But I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah, he's been vibing on the deck. He's been vibing on Natural Order Elves.
I was thinking about playing it in the meetup on Thursday.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would play like a decoy deck at the meetup. I would play like Fluctuator or something. So people are like, Michael J is going to play Fluctuator. I've got to be prepared with 17 Tormods, Crypts in the sideboard, Meddling Mages galore. And then you just juke them.
But you're just naming cards that are just good against every deck. Like, what deck is like Meddling Mage not good against? Like
Goblins. So you just you get people to load up on the
last week. I tested Goblins versus 12-12 for a while, right, with like Pog. So me and Pog just went over Land's house, and then we went all and saw Bottoms. Everyone should see Bottoms. Did you see Bottoms yet?
I haven't seen Bottoms.
Lanny?
I plan on it.
Did you like Booksmart?
I haven't seen Booksmart actually, but
oh my god, you're the reason why there's no movie industry.
Yeah,
no, Booksmart came out. And Booksmart came out. It's the singular watershed moment in the movie industry. Booksmart came out a few years ago, directed by Olivia Wilde. Ted Lasso was her husband at the time, so he was just like a free superstar that she probably paid $1 to be in her movie, right? And it was just this incredibly funny, incredibly well written, incredibly smart movie that everybody loved. And the sort of rhetoric around Booksmart afterwards was, Booksmart is this small indie movie, not a big studio movie, released in theaters. I'm like, if Booksmart can't make any money, that's the end of the movie industry. We're basically just going to have Marvel movies. And what do we have now? Marvel movies and streaming. The entire model is now just Marvel movies and streaming. It was because of Booksmart.
We have the first year where the top 3 movies are not sequels.
Okay. When I say Marvel movies, I mean like big, like Christopher Nolan spectaculars.
Tentpole movies, yeah.
Tentpole movies, right? Yeah. Like, so Bottoms is actually like, it's really good.
Yeah, it's also not doing great at the box office.
It sells out every show in New York, but it's in those like 20-person theaters. That's the thing.
So anyways, how did Meddling Mage do against Goblins?
It was awesome. So I tested a lot of 12-12 against Goblins, and initially I was siding out Meddling Mage because I thought it was bad, especially because of Pile Driver. But then I realized I would much rather have Meddling Mage than Counterspell. And the Meddling Mage was just getting in front of Lackey or forcing the Goblin deck to have Incinerator. Like, if they don't have Incinerator, it's just like a straight up Grizzly Bears. That's good enough. Other guys are like 1-1 for 3.
I'm enjoying this observation because Fran liked cutting the mages in the matchup.
Yeah,
we tested the matchup as well, and we're splitting matches between Goblins and 12-12. And Tom had Meddling Mage in post board a few times, and they didn't seem that bad. I think they look a lot worse if Goblins is the control, which I feel like it is post board. Like, you just load up on Blast, Tinker, Naturalize, right? And then just like, you don't have to kill him quick. You just have to get there eventually. And so Meddling Mage looks kind of bad because it obviously can block, so it can stem the bleeding, but Goblins is just sitting there playing one creature at a time with 4 answer spells in hand. I don't think it's too concerned with a 2/2 naming something that's not particularly relevant, but blocking Lackey is certainly good upside, so I'm willing to go either way.
The card that's bad is Counterspell, right? That's kind of intuitive if you've ever played the matchup in game 1. It's just not good. Although you have these games where you're on the play and you just literally draw like 3 counterspells, you just counterspell them 3 times in a row because they had a non-Lackey hand. They feel like they can't win. The way the matchup goes is the 12-12 deck only has like 18 lands, right? So it's naturally card advantageous, plus it's the deck that has Portent, Impulse, Opt, and Gush. So it's like increasingly dense in terms of threats. And also,
what was that second card that you said?
You know what I said.
So weird.
I'm just picking up other people's freaking deck. I feel like I heard
you said Impulse, and I just
the 12 I don't remember. Idiots playing the 12 deck all have Impulse in their deck. I haven't made my own. Mine is still a blue-red deck. My blue-white cards are still in Landstill. By the way, Landstill is still awesome. I played it for hours yesterday. It is still awesome.
2 games or 3 games?
I played 3 games main and 3 games side. We played we play tested for 8 hours yesterday, so like literal 8 hours. So we got a lot of session. Anyway, so the thing is that the Goblins deck has a powerful engine around obviously it's Goblins tribal theme, right? The problem is if you just like make your deck so they don't hit you with a Lackey, and you're just like, okay, in some games you're on the play, in some games they don't have a first turn Lackey. In many games, even if they have a first turn Lackey, you have like, I don't know, 4 Swords to Plowshares and some number of blue elemental blasts, right? You just kill their Lackey. Now their deck, it doesn't suck, right? It's a better grinder deck than you, but their Routes to Card Advantage all cost like 4 or 5 mana, right? Like, you could just straight up stop them from deploying that stuff, buying time, and then you just kill them because your 12-12 just kills them in 2 moves, right? Like, they can't have everything, right? Because they can't like make their hand be at 7 cards that are all money cards at all times. Their entire Route to Card Advantage is 3, 4, and 5 casting cost cards, many of which like flip the cards you want to draw onto the bottom of their library. Like, that's the problem in a sideboarded Goblins game. You cast a Goblin Ringleader and just 3 naturalizes go to the bottom.
But that's just the mill your ace thing, because it can also get you 4 closer to the naturalize that you want. Like, it's
but I'm just saying, like, your Route to Card Advantage doesn't actually get you the cards to interact with 12-12.
Yeah, I think
Tinkerer.
Which
all these doesn't get killed.
I'm just gonna who's playing the Goblin side, Patrick or Lan?
I was playing the 12-12 side, and Patrick was playing the Goblin side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Tom and I played the match pretty extensively. You can actually find that one on video. Did I put it on my YouTube? But
I heard a rumor that Caffeinated 22 thinks that Patrick is an excellent playtest partner, so good that Robin wouldn't even play against him. That's a rumor I heard.
I mean, I don't understand. You're just talking about during the side event?
I'm just saying a rumor I heard. I didn't say who I heard it from.
Okay.
Look, in any case, people say rumors.
In any case, I don't know. I mean, we just in a long game, Goblins was always winning when we did the testing, but I'm willing to be wrong on that.
You got to slam the door shut. Luckily, you have a 2-card combo that kills in 2 swings.
Oh, yeah. What else have we got? So are we getting closer to a deck selection? Are we still just gonna play the field until we make a decision last minute? Just pull one out of the box.
I might test again one. I probably don't have time. There's a meetup on Thursday, and that's not real playtest. It's just like you said, I'm not going to play my deck for Saturday at that session. Yeah. Just looking around the room. I have cards coming in. I bought. So here's my devil's bargain. Zvi Moshowitz will play with us on Thursday. I said, I'll make you any deck. He chose Turbo Lands, which I only owned 3 Horn of Greed, and I couldn't find an Exploration, so I just had to buy a set of Exploration and a Horn of Greed. So in return, you know how you have to pay like $10 to like walk in the room? I'm like, your $10 is going towards the sleeves of my deck that I had to buy for you. He was just like, that seems like a fine deal. So now I'm going to get a free set of sleeves.
That's not really like a devil's bargain. That's just like a bargain. That's just like, that's like a very straight barter.
Yeah. I mean, I have to like.
It's actually just nothing. You're all upside in this one. You bought cards that you need for a collection. Your good friend and hopeful future pre-modern grinder Zvi Moshowitz is going to join the scene, making our gauntlet of ex-pro killers joining the meetups.
I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame and has won a Pro Tour.
Yeah, even scarier.
His mode finish since being in the Hall of Fame is 16. I'm sorry, his average finish since coming back from all of it is 16. How insane is that?
So did he so you're planning on conning him into registering for Saturday on Thursday? Is that the plan?
He does. Yes, he says he's going to come on Saturday, but doesn't want to play.
Why don't you just hook him? Why wouldn't he play?
You think I've negotiated what deck he's playing on Thursday and have not mentioned playing on Saturday?
So this is actually a fun caveat with our tournament, because it's capped and because we're paying seat rental. We can't have spectators, so you actually have to tell Zvi if he wants to bird, he has to sign up.
Nobody's kicking Zvi Moshowitz out. He's showing up. I think Osip. Oh man, listen.
Is Osip not signed up? Oh my God, we're doing such a bad job.
Osip's not signed up either. We
need these appearance fees going. I don't know. We'll have to. I'll have
listen
to
to
talk
me.
To the team.
Listen to me. If you want to win the 1.5K, you're not cheering for Zvi Moshowitz to play in the.
No, my goal.
You're not like rah rah.
My goal is to create a nexus of pre-modern, like excitement and competition. We're gonna record and stream time-walked coverage of this. You don't think I want Zvi effing Moshowitz versus Osip effing Levdovich on coverage?
They'll both be at the next one. They told.
Think about the. Why not this one? There's 3 spots.
I don't know. Look, I don't know what to tell you. I think Osip's like in an Ibiza or something. That's why.
That's a fine excuse, I suppose.
But Zvi's gonna come and not play.
All right.
So I mean, I don't know. If he wins on Thursday, maybe he'll be hyped to play on Saturday. I don't know what to tell you.
I was expecting. I mean, everyone's expecting us to talk at least a little bit of the PSS. I'll just let you roast me really quick on what happened.
So I was going to say, this is like a big week for pre-modern, right? For us, right? So PSS Top 4 was this past Monday. Mike Hoyp finally came to his senses and got, let's say, a passable color commentator. I mean, let's be honest, the first time this season, a passable color commentator, but he only got him for one of the matches. Weird. I kid. He got an outstanding commentator.
I can't imagine why. You didn't get called up early. With an attitude like that,
Oh,
I would just be banging down your door.
Seriously, the roasting. I'm like roasting squash, roasting squab. I'm not even like, a pork butt. I'm not a London broil. Like, I'm not even like a high-end meat. I'm like roasted vegetables. This is how roasted I am. The previous week, him and Metelsky are on, and he just starts talking about his favorite called matches. Like, and they're all matches I called. And I'm like, what is going on, Mike?
Look,
I beg to be on the cover.
It's not vegetables, Mike. You're a brisket. The roasting needs to be slow and constant.
God, I love a brisket.
Yeah, you're a brisket. Yeah. So anyways, the PSS quarterfinals or semifinals concluded. Top 4 concluded. Upcoming on Monday, we have the finals. Yours truly versus Rich Shea in a 3-deck versus 3-deck
pause
battle
let's
royale.
Let's talk about the 2 matches that happened first. So the first match, Metelsky versus Rich Shea, The Rock and Roll Express against Parfait Oath. Maybe we should have predicted it. Could have been Rich's last chance to play Parfait Oath ever. I called in as V. Moshowitz mathematical bullet to choose Tom's deck, right? So I ran out. So Zvi knows Rich. He's like, oh, well, Rich is an excellent player of Eternal formats, yada yada yada. He's also a mathematician. He also knows everything we know. So I laid out all the numbers and I said, listen, I need to understand what to do here for my friend and teammate Tom Metelsky, Thomas Corrado Metelsky.
TCM.
Zvi says to me, he says, I wish I had recorded this. It was so good. Zvi says to me, look, do you need me to say it? And I'm like, I just saying that I know what you're going to say. He's like, do you need me to say
Mike,
it?
you told us last week.
He said,
you told this story last week, Mike.
It wouldn't be on my list, but once it's there, you got to pick it. So anyway, we thought that Rich was going to be on Goblins.
Yeah, we thought that Rich was going to be on Goblins. Zvi's read was that Rich knows that Tom has to pick the Rock, and then as a result, he'll pick. What was the result? Zvi said as a result he'll pick Goblins, but then you were saying Zvi also.
No, he said Rich also knows this. He didn't say what deck Rich would play.
Because he said that Rich wouldn't want to play against Engineered Plague for 3 games, and I was saying like, well, it's not 3 games if you win the first 2.
Well, anyway,
and then what happened was Rich actually had the read that Tom would pick Landstill. So I don't even know where that came from. And then he picked Parfait when his read on Tom was Landstill. So
what ended up happening is Tom won the first 2 games. So I was doing my own private commentary with just me and BK, right? And like when Tom like closes out game 2, I'm like, yeah, Tom, yeah. Like I'm like super cheering and everything. And like BK's just like, do you have somebody who you're cheering for in this game, Mike? Like, I'm like going crazy, right? And then so taking nothing away from Rich.
Yeah, commentators can't give away the root, man. You can't give away the root.
I would.
You can hear the root. No, I actually talked. Annoying non sequitur, but I just have to talk about this. So yeah, you don't care if commentators give up the root, right? You can root. I mean, just root a little.
Skip Bayless. I don't like Skip Bayless because he doesn't like LeBron, right? I don't like Skip Bayless. And I know he doesn't like LeBron. And he's like the second biggest sports commentator. I like Skip Bayless a lot more than I like Stephen A. Smith. I would kick Stephen A. Smith down the stairs if I saw him near a set of stairs. And that's reflects badly on me. Because he's just talking about sports in a way that is his professional job, But he does it in a way that makes me want to kick him down the stairs. So maybe it talks about him a little bit. Point being, Skip Bayless makes no bones about not liking LeBron, and he's like the second biggest sports commentator. It is how it is. All these guys are just like, oh, they should, they all cheer against LeBron.
I mean, we assign a bad guy and a good guy to every match of pre-modern. So, like, we're always just like, is The Rock the good guy? It's like, yes, The Rock is always the good guy.
It's going to be hard. Like, we know all the people who are playing in the 1.5K for the most part. Like I'm not going to cheer against Sylvain. He's nice.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, are we going to cheer for or against ourselves? Like, we probably just don't put ourselves in the coverage table until.
Oh man, I think that'd be awesome. It depends if I win or not, or if you win or not. Like, if it's a match that I win and we're like on the coverage, I'm like, oh,
Michael J, what is he thinking?
Master Flores is. Oh,
okay,
Master Flores is right. This is a masterful line. If you look at this, oh my gosh, did you see how he rope-a-doped him into that spot? And you'd be like, Mike, that was just like the most obvious play. Like, not if you don't understand control, Lanny. Not if you don't understand control.
All right. Back to the topic at hand. Tom is up 2 games. What happened? What happened from there?
So I gotta say, everything came up Dr. Shea, the next 3 games. I gotta tell you, like, Rich needed to put everything together. I think, including, and that's not taking anything away from Rich, right? So Rich played
Rich
well.
knows it. He knows
et cetera. But he needed to thread that needle to go 3 games in a row against Pernicious Deed for 3 games and Tom Sideboard, and he did it. He put together Armageddon repeatedly. I think he saw our cast.
He cast 3 Armageddons in
one game. In game 4, I was just like on with BCAN. I'm like, oh, Tom, just concede. Like, this is just painful for everybody. And I'm only talking to BK, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is painful for everybody. What are you doing? Just get it together. Get it together, man. Just put it together for game 5. And Tom kept playing. And Tom was an inch from winning.
Yep. He almost pulled it out of the hat until the 3rd Armageddon.
Rich almost got double Haunting Echoes. He needed to find a 3rd Armageddon before the 2nd Haunting Echoes went off. It was insanity. So I was like, oh my God, Tom had so much presence there. And Rich got him with his stupid parfait deck. I asked Flint on commentary, I'm like, don't y'all feel like villains? Like, the 2 terrible people with the banned decks played those banned decks to make the finals against each other, where we as fans are going to be subjected to watching more of their stupid banned decks, right? Like, this is comical, right? This is so super comical because, like, you and Dr. Shea, I'm like, oh, Parfait doesn't need to be banned. I never said Parfait needed to be banned. I never said Parfait needed to be banned. I never said Enlightened Tutor needed to be banned. I never said Oath of Druids needed to be banned. I'm fine with Zurin Orb. If you want to play your stupid Zur's Weirding, you can. Land tax is overpowered. Like, oh no, there's not enough data. Shut up. This is comical. Like, it's so comical at this point. But B, how amazing is the format? There are so many different, like, Oath variants now. Like, so many, like, there's, like, white-green based decks. There's Fran's Cataclysm Terravore deck. There's the mono-green Winter's... What do I got here? Like, this Winter's Grasp nonsense. There's people playing Explorations. There's people playing... 8 copies of Stone Rain. Look at this, Lanny. What do we got? Thermokizzle, Winter's Grizzle. We got these. I have them. They're right here, ready to be put in sleeves, along with like a Frozen Wreck. Listen to me. So the format is so interesting. Like, that stupid mono green deck was like a top perform. Don't give the details away, man. I just need to know the headline. I'm going to get excited. I put together the cards. I'm going to just have them to, I think there might be 2 Michael J. owned Oath decks playing on Thursday. So I think I'm going to play an Oath deck too. Maybe I'll play like the mono green deck. I don't know, man. I ordered some I pulled the trigger on those Mox Diamonds.
Promo code Flores.
Oh my God. Promo code Flores almost covered the tax. That's what I'll say about that. The tax was burly on this purchase, I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Rich Shea on the ropes, basically taking it
threads the needle
all the way back. Which, I gotta say, it was definitely depressing for the land tax haters in the audience. I mean, I don't know. I just wish it was me. I didn't trigger land tax a single time in the post board games. What happened to me? I guess I fetched.
All right, so I'll talk to you about your games.
What's
your
the
original idea was to play Replenish against Goblins. I'm glad that the service that I rendered you was to take you off of this stupid idea. I do not understand. It's not that it matters. I guess it matters still now. I don't know who thinks Replenish is favored in the Replenish versus Goblins matchup. Rich said it on camera too. He's like, "Oh, I can't play Goblins. He might play Replenish." I'm like, this is literally the worst matchup for Replenish. Like, I cannot think of a worse matchup in the format. maybe like Devourer, like depending on the version of Replenish you have.
Fluctuator's pretty bad, probably.
So you can put up some resistance. I mean, I don't know, man. Like Goblins just annihilates you, right? Like so the Goblins in this matchup is like the Rock. If the Rock could kill you in a reasonable time period, right? People are like, oh, well, the Rock will disrupt you and then put you on a 7-turn.
We talked about this at length last week.
Like, I only have so much content, Lanny.
Goblins beats Replenish.
So
what did we do? We picked Parfait.
You went with Parfait, and I thought you would 2-0 Jerry guy, and that's what happened. Then you went to sideboarded games, and I thought he might easily beat you 3 in a row, and he almost did. Game 3, I got to tell you, as one of the people who was in the booth, I was very confused over what happened in Game 3. So,
what happened in Game 3? Do you want me to tell it, or do you want
Lan Fang over here, Legolas Q Barton over here, put together so many Oath of Druids because they kept getting blown up by Jerry guy, and then and Flint was really making a big deal. He's like, and he used an Enlightened Tutor to get yet another Oath of Druids. So you get the Oath of Druids, you trigger it, went all the way to the bottom of the library, and then we can't hear you. So I just see you throw your sideboard across the table. I would have gotten disqualified from my second Pro Tour if I hadn't already been eliminated. Because I threw my deck after I did day 2 on just getting mana screwed with like this insanely good deck. Anyway, long story short, you threw your sideboard. Like, what is going on? But like Flint's like, he seems to have a spontaneous generation in his deck. I'm like, spontaneous generation is awful.
Flint's like, up. He boarded in the spontaneous generation. Does he have any creatures in his deck?
So I was just like, so then I'm like, it didn't occur to me that you might have all your creatures in your hand at this point, right?
Okay, so let's switch over to Lanny POV. We've been jockeying over Oath this entire game. Jared finally runs out a Goblin Pile Driver. I run out an Oath of Druids. Jared just like attacks for 1 or whatever and passes a turn. I'm going to get the first Oath of Druids trigger of the post-boarded games. And in my hand, I have Shard Phoenix and Ancestors Chosen. And in my next turn, I'm going to have 5 mana to cast Shard Phoenix. So I'm pretty excited to punch my ticket into the finals of the PSS with an Acroma Angel of Wrath next to a Shard Phoenix. It's going to be great. And I start flipping cards. And I'm just like, well, blessing trigger, another blessing trigger. I'm like, cool, yeah, whatever. And then I'm like getting to a few down. I'm like, man, this Chroma's really deep down here. Like, did I bottom this in Mulligans? I don't really remember. It might be my bottom card.
Really bottomed it in Mulligans.
And then I got to the end of my deck, and then I was like, hold on, like what? And I was like, so there's 2 things here. One, I might have 59 cards in my deck. Which if I did, I would have conceded to me. I would have just game lost myself. Because in a spot like that, it would just be ridiculous to like try to ask for a remedy. So I look at my sideboard. I actually counted it and fanned it out on camera. And Jared was like, well, your Chroma's in your sideboard. He's like, not that I was looking, but your Chroma's clearly in your sideboard. And I'm like, yeah, Jared, I know. I just showed you my whole deck. Like, I'm just going to tell you what I boarded in. So I started pulling my sideboard cards out and putting them to the top. And I was like, yeah, I boarded in a Duress. I boarded in Innocent Blood. I boarded in Devastating Dreams. I boarded in Spontaneous Generation. I boarded out Seal of Cleansing, Ray of Revelation, Tormod's Crypt, and a Null. And then I'm like, 4 cards for 4 cards. I'm like, am I forgetting something here? And, yeah, I did. So the Chrome was in my sideboard. I counted my deck 2-3 times. I had 60 cards in my main board. Main deck. I had 15 in my sideboard. I had a legal deck. I had no Acroma Angel of Wrath. So I had to win the hard way by casting Shard Phoenix, casting Spontaneous Generation. I got a tax trigger somewhere in the midst of there. I ran up my lands. I played an Ancestors Chosen that was also obviously in my hand. I was aided, of course, by the fact that Oath eventually got blown up by a Trinkle Domain. But yeah, I got lucky and pulled it out of the hat. Jared kind of gassed out. The ringleaders didn't come. I had a plow in time for
Jared never cast a ringleader in a sideboarded game, actually, I think.
He never cast a ringleader in the match.
So when I say he didn't cast a ringleader in the sideboarded game, my statement was accurate. That said, you're pretty lucky. That guy always slips over 4 goblins.
I mean, I had to get
every time it's 4 goblins.
Yeah, bad guys won, good guys lost. Land tax gets just exactly what it needs to advance to the finals. So,
I mean, I remember just being like, well, Lanny shouldn't concede here. Like, he actually has still a pretty good chance of winning this game. And like, you were just ahead, even with all of this nonsense.
So I was
I
was tilted off the planet, right? Because just imagine the spot where I'm just like, okay, I won the game. I literally just won the game. Jared has no sequence of stuff, and instead I had to chain stuff together because this Phoenix wasn't gonna last forever. I was never gonna buy back the Phoenix with triple red. And then so I would have needed another Oath and then 2 Oath triggers to get the Phoenix back into my deck, or I needed to bless the Phoenix back. Anyways, my trajectory to winning went from quad aces,
Crabbable,
royal flush, to like hope my king high pulls out.
Nah. Pocket threes wins a lot of.
Oh yeah, sure. Pocket
wins
threes.
A lot of heads ups.
Yeah, exactly.
Pocket threes. Nope. Nobody knows. So it's like when you just like, oh, you turned to 3. You're like,
oh no. Okay, so this is the analogy.
Oh, I turned to 3.
This is the analogy. This is an analogy. Okay. So what happened was, my hand is ace deuce heart diamonds. Flop comes up.
Oh my god.
Flop comes up. Three hearts.
Flop with
3 hearts, and I'm like, nice. And then the next card comes up, heart. And I'm like, sweet, I got this. Turns out I forgot my whole cards, and it was ace, deuce, diamond, heart. And then on the river, the 2 comes up and bails me out. And I'm like, thank you, dealer. So yeah, forgot my whole cards.
I think that pocket threes and ace high are unsuited are pretty comparable in a heads up game.
Yeah. It's only
pocket
it's mostly,
threes beats ace high a lot of the time.
It mostly helps that it mostly helps in the analogy of like understanding my mental state, where I went from I thought I was winning to I thought I was like 10% to get out. And then,
yeah, man, it's like getting bad news.
Yeah.
So I've never done cocaine, but in like the last season of Mad Men, Joan does it, and she said, "Oh, I feel like I've gotten very good news." Right? Like. So I feel like you probably just felt like you just gotten bad.
Yeah, like, I tilted off.
The anti-cocaine was.
I needed to take like 20 deep breaths. Like I was still in a good spot, but I just needed to like focus up and like play right. And I was just like sitting there, and my brain would not stop replaying what had just happened. Like I was like looking at the board, and I kept on just seeing an Achroma there and thinking to myself how easy the game would be if I had an Achroma in play. And I was doing that like 3 turns later, and I told Jared, I'm like, hey, sorry, I'm going to take a deep breath. I need to like untilt for a second. And Jared's like, you might still win. And I was like, sorry, I know. And then, yeah. Anyways.
This is like a classic Lanny way of getting to the finals, though. I mean, like, I can't remember. I was like saying something in commentary, and people were like, yeah, you think that because it's your friend, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, well, if there's like a 59 card remedy, this is actually what you would do in this situation. Like, you're just saying that because it's your friend. And I'm like, I literally ratted my friend out for not burying his City of Traders. Like,
I mean, this is like,
I don't know what you think, man.
So
I called up the commentators to rat out that City of Traders.
Yeah, it was just the worst way to lose the game or win the game, because I sort of was trying to like make a case for myself being like pretty good. And like, I was like very clearly make just hilarious mistakes that very, very bad players can still not make. Anyways, here I am.
I don't know how you made that mistake, because that seems like but that's just like a mental slip, man.
Yeah, it's
and then everything from that you might have played perfectly, but you just thought this card was in your deck. I bet anybody can. I don't know. You go to the grocery store and you forget to get peanut butter. Like
that happens to me all the time. So maybe
that's the same. Maybe that's why every one of us can relate to that, right? Like, I can't relate to playing Skullcrack. You need to own Skullcrack. You need to put it in your deck. You need to register it in your deck. I can't see that, but I can imagine forgetting to side all your skull cracks out after you've made that mistake. You might not have enough cards to bring in because you wasted 4 of your slots on skull cracks. It all makes sense.
Well, anyways, the stage is. Oh no! Hello, what's happening?
You're fine. You're fine.
No, it's just because
You're fine.
I lost it and I came back. The stage is set for the PSS Finals. 3 decks against 3 decks. We choose any deck that we haven't chosen before.
In any order.
Rich's Parche, Blue-White Dreadnought, Goblins, the veritable 3 best decks of the previous pre-modern format, versus my Burning Parfait, Blue-White Replenish, and Grotog.
Lan and I were talking about like, what decks did you play? And I was like, I played this, and he's just like, it's like, because he's like, what if you played Parfait, Landstill, and 12-12? I'm like, okay, 3 meddling mage decks. I'm like, well, what? I hate Parfait. I couldn't stand playing it. And I'm like, I would play 12-12, Landstill, I guess Star Spangled Slaughter. He's like, congratulations, idiot. You're playing Star Spangled Slaughter every week if it's last year's rules.
Yeah.
So I think he's off because, I guess Goblins is really good. Yeah, I guess he is playing. No, I like Landstill better than Parfait, but I guess that you guys both proved that land tax was rightfully banned. I guess these are the 3 best decks.
Landstill doesn't even have a single card that's banned in Legacy, Mike.
Have you ever played with or against Landstill?
Like, just simmer on that.
Are you gonna? Whoa, Lanny, how about this?
How about this? Format where you have access to Gush, Hermit Druid, Frantic Search, Oath of Druids, and you're telling me you're gonna sleeve up Wrath of God? Like,
Lanny,
Absorb?
Are you gonna be at the meetup on Thursday?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna play Magic all night on Monday versus Rich Shea, and then I'm gonna play Magic all day on Saturday. So I'm not going.
I was gonna say I will just hand you. Oh my god! Speaking of which,
you don't have to. I played one match of Landstill and I was just off it for eternity.
I need to resleeve my. Pog made my Landstill deck smell like pancakes. Like you hear me like yelling at him, like it smells like syrup. What was bullying. He touching before? I said, Pog, just don't eat the stupid food and then like play with my cards, right? That's all I asked him. I gave him the deck to play and I bought him the food, right? My deck smells like pancakes. I was testing yesterday. I'm like, the whole time, like Land's just making fun of me. And I'm just like, this thing smells like syrup.
Yeah, I don't want to play full breakfast Landstill. I played it one time. I didn't draw my mana sources. And I was like, okay, I don't understand why anyone does it. I don't understand why Fran, the veritable king of adding lands and fixing the mana bases of decks, like, can tolerate this madness. I don't know how many coastal towers he went up to, but no number is enough to make the stupid deck functional. Just like completely over it. And additionally, doesn't contain any cards that are banned in Legacy, which is actually like my base heuristic for playing any pre-modern deck. Like, if I'm not playing a card that's banned in Legacy, then I shouldn't be playing.
So what cards are banned in 12-12?
Gush, yeah.
And then in Parfait, is it land tax is banned?
No, it's Oath of Druids.
Oath of Druids is banned?
Yeah.
Oh, so like you couldn't play like a Sam Black deck because that version doesn't have a banned card.
That deck has Gush.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, got it.
Yeah.
So that's where you start. So like, but what about Goblins? What card is banned in Goblins?
Goblins doesn't have any banned cards. That's why I don't like it. I think it's a powerful deck. We went over this last week, but I wouldn't play it because it doesn't have a card that's banned in Legacy.
It's a top 3 deck for me right now.
I think that Goblin Lackey is a card that conceivably, like, you know, equal in power to a card like Hermit Druid. They're both 1/1s that end the game. So I'll give it a pass. But Landstill truly has no card that's broken.
No, like sometimes a Goblin Lackey hits you and you just put like a Mog Fanatic in play.
Yeah, but it's half as much mana. It's half as much mana as Hermit Druid. But
Smith's hit you with his Goblin Lackey repeatedly, and like it didn't end the game.
Well, it's because
he put some Goblins in play. It just didn't end the game, right? He got a Black Lotus out of it. Like, I'm not taking that away from him. I'm just saying it wasn't a siege gang.
Yeah, it was kind of like a old school era Black Lotus and not a 2023 vintage era Black Lotus.
So anyway,
he didn't sacrifice something to beseech the mirror to like win the game on the spot.
I didn't consult V. Masterwitz's mathematical bullet to tell you this, but I can tell you for sure what you should do on Monday.
Okay, you have to tell me off podcast.
No, I'll tell you right. It doesn't change anything.
No.
Put your 3 decks up. Put your 3 decks up.
No data for Rich. Don't feed the machine more data. I swear to God.
You roll a die.
I'm editing this out.
1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and that's the order you play your decks in. That's how you do it. You don't think about it. You can't gain anything by trying to outthink Rich on the order of his matchups. He's already shown us he will make both cold-hearted, cutthroat mathematical decisions and I just can't play Goblins decisions, right? He will do both. He might say to himself, like, okay, what is the prisoner's dilemma version of this? He's like, oh, well, Lanny's going to put me on playing Goblins third because if I win the first 2, then I never have to play Goblins. But Lanny knows this. Maybe I should line Goblins up first. That is the level of you solve this problem by throwing a die.
Yeah, I actually was inclined to agree. But I'll have to build a spreadsheet between today. I guess the match is tomorrow, so I have to spend all day tomorrow building a spreadsheet.
Don't build a spreadsheet. I'm telling you, Lanny, just roll the die. You're not going to be able to avoid playing your Groatog deck in all likelihood. Gonna have to play it. All right.
In any case, so we're hyped for that. We've talked at length, but the official details is that Saturday, September 16th, we have our New York City pre-modern Sacred Torch Showdown. It's a 1.5K tournament, $540 going to the first place winner.
Michael J. Flores.
Flores will be in attendance. We're gonna do Time Walk covering the following week on the 23rd.
Can I put it on my YouTube page? You could put it on your Twitch channel.
I mean,
can I put it on my?
Sure, it's fine.
Yes,
your YouTube. I mean, you have. Yeah, it's fine.
I'll put a link to the Spike Colony podcast, Mick. If you like this cover, nobody watches my YouTube channel. You could edit that out. They could just see how many views the videos get. Any of those things is possible. But I want to, I love my YouTube channel. Yeah, I invented doing Magic YouTube.
Yeah, I know. I'm down for you using your platform. I wanted to go to the final topic. We had kind of a discussion. I got a little riled up. I try not to make anything personal. So like if you're like a player and you like a deck that I think is horrible or just inferior, like I try to make comments along the lines of like this deck is horrible and not like you're a horrible person. You are not good at making decisions or something of that sort. But
both of those things could be true.
That's true, but it's not really polite to again make it personal. Everyone's got their own everyone makes their own decisions for their own reasons. I slipped up recently in the pre-modern Discord a lengthy discussion about how consistent mono blue Dreadnought is. A newcomer to the format jumping in after some comments were made that blue white is better, and the newcomer to the format was like, hold up a second. I just built this deck. Are you telling me that it's not the best version? And I was like, well, it is the best version if you're using the same copium that the mono blue players are using. And
what is copium? I saw you guys talking about
copium. It kind of explains itself, but I would just say that it is like the gas that you need to inhale to like cope with like.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's like it's a Zoomer thing. It might be millennials might have invented copium. So it's just kind of like how if you're on copium, you're in denial, right? So I actually want a quick non sequitur. What's a DI? You say DI like nonstop. You say DI.
DI is Der Infinite. So like Gerard Fabiano said it a lot, like in the what do they call it? I kind of
like
2003. Is that an aught?
Yeah, the aughts. Yeah.
So like all the players of like a little younger than me, not like crazy younger than me, like people who they're probably like in their early 40s now, all use DI.
I was kind of down when you were like, I've been doing this DI. You were like, the I stands for infinite, and you're like, I've been playing Goblins DI. But then you were like, these people are DIs, and I was like, okay, how is a person a DI?
So for example, like Patrick Chapin will refer to John Finkel and other DIs, right? So if somebody is a DI, John Finkel being the best example of a DI of all Magic players, John Finkel is Dur Infinite because he makes Dur Infinite. So John Finkel is a hedge fund manager who, before being a hedge fund manager, was the greatest sports gambler in the world, and before becoming the greatest sports gambler in the world, was the greatest blackjack player in the world.
Okay.
And before becoming the greatest blackjack player in the world, was the greatest Magic player in the world. Now he's a hedge fund manager. He is Dur Infinite.
All right. So Zoomer language is actually Zoomer language actually has this covered because we're just talking about goats and being goated. So.
But there's really only one goat. Like
no. You just throw it around. You're like, Michael J. You're the goat. But you're goated.
I understand. I am goated.
Yeah,
but
goated.
It's not accurate.
Well, it's not okay. Whatever. Anyways, copium. So Alvaro Galindo called me out, and he was just like, "Hey, that's kind of mean." And I was like, "Yeah, it's mean, but also, what like." Scoreboard, I don't know, blue white, but then we had a pretty insightful decision because you came from so one of the things that I wanted to yell was I was just like, Michael J changed his opinion about this. Like, I have not changed Michael's opinion on nearly anything ever, and this is something I changed his opinion about. Like, how are you guys more stubborn than Mike about this stupid mono blue versus blue white?
I would love to talk about this.
But
for a second.
We had a conversation and you introduced a little bit more nuance, which, every good argument that becomes personal needs is a little bit more nuance. So take it away, Mike. What's the deal with mono blue Dreadnought? So
I would just like to point out my entire experience of being on mono blue Dreadnought at the point that I was making these arguments before LobsterCon this year. I didn't know Fran at all IRL at that point, and I just thought Fran was like the anti-you, right? And I'm like, you think this one way and Fran thinks this other way, blah blah blah. And I didn't know Fran at all, and I love Fran. Fran's awesome, right? Like, but I didn't really know him. But all I knew was like, I had played the mono blue deck in a tournament where somebody had played the blue white deck, and they had gotten it from Fran's YouTube or his Patreon or whatever, right? And I didn't know who he was, and I won that tournament, and that other person didn't. So my conclusion was mono blue was the best. Then the second data point was you and I swapped decks at a meetup, and we met in the finals, and that finals became Iron Man versus the Hulk, and you were playing mono blue, and I was playing the deck designed to beat Dreadnought, and I lost.
So let me actually take that story. Remember what happened at the start of the meetup? I was just like, "Hey, Mike, do you mind if I add these white cards to this deck?" And then you're like, "No, that's annoying. I don't want to like take them out after you're done."
Yes,
and I was like, "Fine." But
and then
I had Meddling Mage's Wastes.
Yeah, well, I said it was annoying, so you weren't allowed. So, okay, so start there. That is my actual practical understanding of mono blue. Now, to understand this a little bit more deeply, Lanny actually straight out played me in one of the games in Iron Man vs. the Hulk. And he super straight out played me in the deciding third game. Like, the first game was just like he won the roll and Dreadnought wins a lot of the time, right? Second game, I got the overload of removal, which is what Lanny Rock is supposed to do. Third game, he actually outplayed, right? But I didn't really think about that much. What I thought about was my own experience playing it, wherein I played like 4 rounds. I 2-0'd every round, and I only played 1 game out of the 8 games I played that went more than 5 turns, right? So I was just like, my entire thought process around mono blue Dreadnought is you go second turn Dreadnought with a Vision Charm if you're on the draw, and you always have a Daze Foil, right? It's the easiest deck ever to win with. Let's go back and think about the gears of Dreadnought, right? So, like, Lanny had introduced this idea that every deck has gears, and I think I credit you with the idea that every deck has gears, but you were wrong because you tried to relate everybody's gears to be the same gears that I assigned to Burn. Whereas BK is just like, no, here are the gears of Goblins. And I'm like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. It's nothing like the gears of Burn. If you think about mono blue Dreadnought, this is a deck that only has 1 gear. It has only 1 gear, at least in main deck games. If you have Winter Orb, it gains this weird sort of sub-game. But as the deck was conceived, it is just this shove my 12/12 shrimp down your throat. If you only want to think about a Dreadnought deck as this, mono blue is a better deck than blue red or blue white. It is better at that. It's not enormously better, but it is better, right? Like, it doesn't get caught in these situations where you go off quickly and your land that you have to pitch for a foil is an Addercar Waste or a Flooded Strand, which was one of the reasons I was off of blue-white initially. I'm like, I went off and then I couldn't protect. If this had been mono-blue, I would have won the game, right? However, blue-white has an incredibly nuanced set of additional game plans that mono-blue literally just has no access to. There are many games that blue-white is just about protect the meddling mage, or about like these meddling mage versus meddling mage sub-games, right? Like, there's an enormous level of nuance to these games that mono blue just can't touch. All mono blue can do is play sleight of hand and ponder and impulse and opt, because it doesn't have actually good cards to play. So it just plays more cantrips, right? One thing I'll give mono blue, they don't have to worry about which counterspell or free counterspell they're shaving, because they don't have enough good cards to put into their deck. Like, Overroad's up to something like play like Powder Keg, which is pretty bad, I think. I think I'd literally just rather have like Seal of Removal or something than Powder Keg. It's too slow in a lot of situations, but you have to have something, right? Like, when I was playing that deck, I played like Disrupt and Misdirection. Every time I disrupted somebody, it was like I won the lottery, and like that was awesome.
Yeah, we can name the first 56 cards of the Mono Blue Dreadnought deck, and then the last 4 one-ofs are kind of
Reality Ripple.
Yeah.
BK and I had this long talk one day. I'm like, I play 0 Reality Ripple. He's like, no, Reality Ripple's really good. I play 2. It's like Reality Ripple, Boomerang, right? Like,
I'm so down for Merchant Scroll, because then you can play 1 Reality Ripple, 1 Boomerang, and 2 Merchant Scroll, and then you don't have to draw Reality Ripple Boomerang. You can just draw Merchant Scroll, which is actually just Gush or Foil, and that's way better. But
yeah, really, it's just playing 6 Gushes. Yeah. Right. So anyway, I think if Alvaro's never played the other versions of Dreadnought, he might not understand this, right? Like, the experience of Mono Blue is literally like, it's like a tricycle on training wheels that's also on like a sand lot. By comparison to, like, it's so much worse, right? But it's not worse because it's a worse Dreadnought combo deck. It's a better Dreadnought combo deck. It literally just, if you have like the entire map of the universe, it's like only has the upper right-hand quadrant corner of 1 pixel, right? Versus the entire map of the universe. And if you're playing Mono Blue, you don't even know the rest of the map is there. That's one thing. Now, here's the thing that's crazy about it. If you have experience playing Mono Blue Dreadnought, and then you have experience playing blue-white Dreadnought, let me tell you about my buddy blue-red Dreadnought. Because blue-red Dreadnought is the best, most powerful, most flexible, fastest Dreadnought deck you can play. I dismissed this deck until I saw it was doing pretty well at LobsterCon. I played it myself. Here's the thing about blue-red Dreadnought. It is the fastest. It is the best. It is the most powerful. It's so much better at beating hate cards. It's so much better at winning fair games. In addition to being oftentimes a better Dreadnought combo deck than Mono Blue. But the problem is it has worse mana than Sealed deck. So you're just like, here's my opening. I literally just go off because I'm like, Mountain Lotus Petal, Daze Foil. Like, it's real bad, right? Like, the deck is like 3 mountains. So the reason that it's so good and so fast is because in order to play at even a basic level, it has to have Lotus Petal, which means sometimes it goes off on the first turn. So, which is insanity, right? But if that deck's mana were corrected, I have no doubt it would be the best Dreadnought deck. It's so good. Like, you win games where like your opponent has like an invincible force field of Seal of Cleansings. You're just like, Dreadnought Fling, finish you off with lightning bolts. It's got this entire, okay, if you want to talk about how like the blue-white deck has this bigger universe of things it can do than the blue-red deck, I mean, welcome to the chip shot Grim Lavamancer game, right? I've won tons of matches where I'm just like, most of my damage was like putting together Grim Lavamancer, Fire Ice, and Lightning Bolt, and you're just like, I'm waiting for my Draco Explosion, right? So I have a 12-point Draco Explosion, and it's on the backside of one of these Sleight of Hands. I played Sleight of Hand instead of Impulse, but, which is obvious. But I'm just saying, like, that is again a huge universe of experience. If you're the mono blue deck, like, I can tell you, Lanny, I thought about playing mono blue on Saturday because no one would put me on it, right? Like, that's actually a thing that I was thinking. But like, if I think that a lot of the really good players are going to be on blue white. If a lot of good players are on blue white, I don't want to be mono blue. They just have an I win condition on turn 2 with a meddling mage. If you don't daze it right there, you're just dead.
Yep, and they can daze you back.
Yeah, so it's that's not a good place to be. But
unless you merchant scroll for your reality ripple.
Reality ripple your merchant scroll, and that doesn't work at all. I reality ripple to merchant scroll. It's not a legal target.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with the mono blue versus blue white debate is that mono blue is just so good. It's just like it's pizza or ice cream, except for like it's more like, I don't know, 2 different kinds of pizza, where one is just like has more flavor and complexity, but the other is just like friggin' cheese pizza. And it's like, why would I, like, you know, like the holy grail of a New York pizza restaurant is either a plain slice if it's a slice joint, or like a margarita pie if it's a Neapolitan joint, right? Like, you can open whatever restaurant you want, you can have your signature pizzas. And some people are going to come in and they're just like, I would like a margarita, please. I know that you have some farm to table, imported. Those are 2 different things. You have farm to table veggies. You have imported sausage. You've got 28-day dry aged pancetta. I don't know. You've got the goods, but
you've got the pizza ingredients.
Yeah, you've got the DI pizza ingredients. You've got the goated goat cheese. But I would just like a margarita pizza. And do you know why? Because a margarita pizza is going to deliver you the goods every single time. It's just going to do the same thing. It's going to tell me about how good good the flour is.
That's not how Magic Deck works. So Zvi wrote an article about like basic deck capabilities years ago, right? So there's always been this debate, is the wrong word, but there's always been this discussion about what a deck is. What is a deck? What defines a deck, right? Like, you know, when does Feb become Hermit Feb, right? Like, when does that happen? You know, or like, when does, you know, Dreadnought become something else? What are the minimum capabilities of a deck? So I would argue, for example, that black-red, mono-red, and green-red goblins are 3 independent decks that all deserve to exist. And that there are times when it's better to be one of those things than the other. Things, right? It's just so happens that green-red goblins is the kind of preferred goblin deck to play in pre-modern, because you have to deal with cards like Oath of Druids, or like there's decks like Enchantress that exist. So availability of spells like Naturalize and Tranquil Domain become very convenient if those kinds of decks exist. Like, if you can hull breach both a Mox Diamond and an Oath of Druids with a single hull breach, that's pretty awesome, right? Versus a deck like just not being able to deal with it.
Yeah, that either has
win
to
card,
duress,
right? Like,
or just click slither.
Yeah, like
Pyromancer its way out.
So the thing is, like, but those 3 decks all deserve to exist. And there are times when you might want to be a mono red or a mono black deck, right? Like, let's say there was like some alternate universe where nobody ever played Parfait again, right? Like, which is not now, right? Like, there are, like, Parfait is the wrong word, but like Oath of Druids based, you know, control decks, let's say, right? Like, one of the most popular decks right now is an Oath of Druids based control deck that deploys a variety of artifacts and enchantments. It deploys Mox Diamond, Oath of Druids, Sylvan Library, Exploration, and Sphere of Resistance, right? Like, that's a deck that is currently tearing up the same. If that exists, the Goblins deck that's going to be most effective against that is going to be one that can destroy artifacts and enchantments. So start there. However, if you think about minimum deck capabilities, like Zvi said, okay, here's a deck that exists, and he was like, I think he's talking like some sort of survival deck, because he played a survival deck in Proto Rome, and he's just like, at this point, the assumption should be that all survival decks have some version of the Great Whale combo. So it's like, maybe you didn't have it at Rome, but now that version that has the Great Whale combo is known to exist, it is simply a fault of the survival deck to not have it. You are now below the minimum expected capabilities, right? Like, you don't have a reason to exist. The number of slots required to have the Great Well combo in your survival deck when you already have all of these other machinery, survival of the fittest, mana creatures, etc. in place is very, very low, right? It's like, oh, well, I chose to just do the straight survival, which is just recurring nightmare and slightly card advantageous creatures. But cool, you made a mistake then. Look, your deck is below the minimum capabilities. A mono blue Dreadnought deck is literally below the capabilities. There is no feasible tournament when you would be better off to play the mono blue deck than either the blue white or the blue red deck. I cannot think of a situation when that would be better.
Yeah. I mean, that was the the direction that the discussion took, where there was like some thing of just like, conceivably there could be a meta game where you are required at all times to cast Phyrexian Dreadnought within the first 4 turns. And then if that were the case, then you'd want to be mono blue. And I think the thing that strikes me is...
but there's not a real metagame that...
Exactly. That's not really plausible. Yeah, it's not really plausible, but
also, is everyone bound by that rule? Because if everyone's bound by that rule, isn't it better to be a deck that could meddling mage or even Cabal Therapy someone to prevent them from being able to do that?
Yeah, I mean,
if that's the actual rule,
I think it's
there's no conceivable time you would want to be mono blue.
Yeah, I mean the example given is just like if it's like only goblins and burn, and then you just play 6 blasts in your sideboard, and then you go off sooner. Yeah, but that's
just nonsense.
It's not really like a thing that you're not gonna make a run in a 6-round tournament and face like 4 of 6. You need to go 5-1 to get in, right? So 4 of 6 or 3 of 6 is red, and then you stomp red, and then you're kind of good enough for the other 2. And then it's like not even clear you stomp red. So.
But the problem with that analysis is that all the red sideboard cards are green. So the fact that you have all of these like red blasts, like it's not even definitive that you would be in a better situation, right?
So yeah.
And I'm
totally
telling you, the meddling mages were way better than counterspells off Burrow. Also, you know what card's really good against goblins? Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah.
They
try to sort of, and you can't blast a pile driver that's in play.
That's already in play, right?
But I think one of the things, I mean, this is like fundamentally like why I was always gravitating towards the blue-white version. Like I was testing, and I had like my version. I had 4 opt, 4 impulse, 4 port, and that was like my card selection package. And I started realizing that I was like getting super underwhelmed by the card opt, because I would do a Michael J keep where I just had lands and spells, but some of my spells were opts. And sometimes I would look at the top card and I'm like, I don't want that. And then I would draw a card and be like, I don't want that either. And then I would like
get there. That's how it works.
And I would like look at this opt, and I'm just like, why is this card in my deck? It doesn't do anything. It just doesn't do anything. It is like so underwhelming. Have you ever kept a 1-lander with opt on the draw and then just missed?
Just my only cantrip is opt.
Yeah.
What's the rest of my hand?
I don't know.
I mean, I might
Vision Charm.
Yeah, but like, okay, my hand is not literally opt Vision Charm 1 land. Like, it's not a 3-card hand, Lanny.
All I'm telling you is that Rich Shea in game 2 of our match, Blue White Dreadnought versus Replenish, the first 5 turns of that match, Rich was like casting some number of opt. He also went down. He's on the lane. Okay, this is not a good argument for me because maybe a bunch of impulse was stuck in his hand while he was on 1 land, but he did cast a number of cantrips and miss on the land. My point is, like, that hand is super shaky. Like, let's manufacture the best 1-land opt hand. Okay, you got 5 cards. What are the other 5 cards in my hand? Because there's no portents in there, right? Because obviously we.
I mean, if I have full combo or like gushes, like I just need to get a 2nd land and then my gush engine is on. Like, Lanny, I feel like we're wasting time on this discussion because I don't think when we're at the finish line we're like, yes, everyone learned something. I think you're just like trying to say that opt isn't very good.
No, but that's the argument that I'm making, is that
all of my decks,
like,
so I don't have opt or impulse.
Yeah, we agree the portent is super good. Anyways, my point being, like, don't get me wrong, I play a deck with 4 opt. And I'm playing a deck with 4 opt in the PSS. I cast a lot of opt. Like, I'm willing to play opt in my deck, but the reason why harping on this so much is that the fundamental argument of like the mono blue deck is just like kind of like, oh, we're more consistent because we have access to opt and sleight of hand. So like if you don't have like a made hand, so let's just be in two universes. One is a universe where the mono blue player has all islands and a mix of opt and sleight of hands, where the blue white players has like some mix of flooded strands at Arc Waste and fewer ops and no sleight of hands, right? The mono blue player is basically making the argument. It's like if I draw my hand, and I've got all these bunch of ops and sleight of hands, I just got more shots to hit this Dreadnought. And the blue white player is going to be stuck, casting Meddling Mage, et cetera, et cetera. So the problem I have with that analysis is that both players have access to Portent and full combo openers, right? And some Gush openers. So you're only cutting out some of the you're only cutting out a few hands, like you're only gaining a few hands by having these turn 1 cantrips, because you're just like existing in a universe where like you keep the hand and like the Dreadnought's like 5 or 6 cards down, and you would just get to them quicker than the blue white deck. But like every other universe, like if my card for the turn instead of opt is Meddling Mage, like
I mean, I think that you can concede that they're a better Gear 1 deck.
No,
they're not a lot better Gear 1 deck. That's my argument.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Like
it's just kind of like
97th percentile instead of 95th percentile. 95th percentile they're both an A.
Yeah.
Like 97th percentile isn't an A plus.
Yeah, my point is my fundamental point is like you're basically saying it's just like I got so many more hands that have like sleight of hand, and so like I'm just going to get deeper into my deck quicker. It's true, but I'm also just kind of like, in a real game of Magic, I'm actually so not interested in casting stupid opt. Like I would rather have access to other game plans. And that's what blue white is.
Blue white is the best of the three, blue red, blue white, and mono blue at Portent, because the presence of Flooded Strand gives them the ability to take some of the cards off of Portent, but not all of the cards.
Yeah, I would actually happily play 4 fetches in the mono blue version to give you that Portent optionality, and sometimes give you the impulse optionality. If we flash back to the PSS 4, Tom Metelsky had to take a Phyrexian Dreadnought off of an impulse, because he was looking at 2 Dreadnoughts and he's like, if I put these 2 on the bottom, I'm never gonna find them again. So I have to take this now, even though what I need now is like a counterspell or whatever, or like a Gush.
That's a really good point against mono blue, right? However, the one thing that I would say is, like, I just don't think that it's arguable, and I don't understand. Like, I think the best analogy is what you said before, that mono blue is so good. Imagine it's you ever see The Wizard of Oz, the movie The Wizard of Oz?
Yes. Okay,
so I saw the movie The Wizard of Oz a ton of times when I was a kid. But I somehow forgot this feature, right? Until I'd seen it like 3 or 4 times. So The Wizard of Oz starts out in black and white. And it's not until Dorothy Gale goes to the magical land of Oz that it becomes in color, right? Then when she returns to Kansas in the final act, it goes to black and white again, right? So I think like if you were in the 1930s or something and you got to see a movie on the screen and you got to hear people singing like in a movie theater, that would be like a miracle to you. You're like, this is amazing. Like I'm seeing people on the screen and they're singing, and look, this is great. This movie is going to be like around for a long time. And there's movies like that, like Citizen Kane, that are in black and white, that are still remain seminal pieces of auteurship and are studied today. However, compare that to Everything Everywhere All at Once, or Avengers Infinity War, right? Like just like now, like wow, this like Mono Blue Dreadnought might be the best 1930s black and white movie there ever was. But the second you see Avengers Infinity War or like Everything Everywhere All at Once or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like something that is like both an amazing movie and a visual spectacle and in color, right? Like, or like Jaws.
I love this analogy because we literally are adding color to the mono blue Dreadnought deck. The monochrome.
Yeah, but do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, yeah, of course.
Like you're. It's just the only way you could have this opinion is that you didn't know that colored movies existed. And I think that if you're a mono blue Dreadnought player, that must be where your head is at, because not because you don't know that they exist in the abstract. Like, that's the thing. So I've shot a gun, but I've never gone hunting, like, as an example, right? I've never killed animals in the wild, right? I've shot a gun at a range, okay? So, like, that is a thing other people do, and presumably other people enjoy, right? And you might have an experience of blue-white Dreadnought as something other people do and other people enjoy, and you've heard of them, but you've never had the experience yourself. And I think that all their argument is just like, yeah, we're like 2% better at Gear 1. They might only be 1% better at Gear 1, by the way. They are better at Gear 1, but they're not a lot better at Gear 1. They just don't know that there's colored action movies. So they're just like all these, like that game that Fran won, where he executed the Gush Armageddon single turn against the Rock to lock, not Fran, sorry, Tom won in order to lock up his spot in the top 4. Like, the mono blue deck literally can't do that.
To lock up my spot in the top 4, not his. He was locked.
That's not, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's not on the menu.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like, oh wait, the Rock is problematic. After sideboarding, they have Crumble, Naturalize, Deed, Vendetta, Smother, Diabolic Edict. They could just kill so many Dreadnoughts. I'm like, what if you blew up all their lands?
I mean, this is also a great analogy because there's some modern movie viewers who prefer movies like Wolverine and Justice League in black and white. So, despite the advancements in technology, they are very happy to be living in the past. But like I said, I didn't want to make this personal. I'm understand. Like, the other thing about the mono blue deck is that the vibes are just... It's not making
it personal to say, like, I'm trying to imagine where their head is at.
Yeah, no. I completely agree.
Wrong opinion.
I actually I feel where their head is at, because I really enjoyed playing the mono blue deck. When because I came, Iron Man versus the Hulk. I was like, hey, can I add this white cards? And you're like, hell no. And I'm like, fine, I'll play Disrupt, whatever.
Yeah.
And then
you probably disrupted me successfully. I probably got what I deserve.
Yeah.
You probably disrupted my Tabi orangutan, and I was just like, I'll allow it.
Yeah. You're like, it seems good. Yeah. And I just I do enjoy playing the deck. It's really sweet. You play 16 lands. You don't have to play 18 friggin' lands. You just play 16 lands. You're placing all your lands with cantrips. You're a good Xerox deck.
I mean, but they're opts.
They're all yeah, exactly, like I said. But like, I was about to run Lonely Sandbar and blue white, as you might recall. But anytime I do pick up the the mono blue Dreadnought and take it for a spin, like, there is definitely a nice cozy feeling of just like, all these basic islands, they're just gonna be there when I need them, and I'm gonna cast my gushes and my foils. I'm not gonna even think about it. I'm just like not even gonna think about it. Like, the whole concept of like sitting down to play your match, you're playing these really, really powerful cards, and just like never being put in a position where like you have to figure out how to cast them. Like, I play Grotog, right? Grotog all the time does Portent for Island. Just like I just need the island now. I'm just like, can I get an island, please? Like, that's the play.
Dealer, can I get an island?
Because you're just like, I need to cast Gush now. And so I'm going to Portent for Island, and then shuffle away the non-island cards, and then Gush so that I can get two other random cards.
From now, I'll get island.
Yeah.
When you say now, you are playing Portent.
Yeah. So
the feature is a bug sometimes, Lanny.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I liked Sleight of Hand. Remember, I wrote that article. Everything about that article was wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Sleight of Hand is not better than Portent. You should just play them both and not play the other ones, though. Sure. And Mono Blue is not better than Blue White.
It's not. I mean, and then, demonstrably, two blue white Dreadnoughts in the top 8 of LobsterCon. Blue White taking down the most recent monthly with Mike Harris, prevailing over Goblins. We had Blue White, of course, in the finals of the Midwest Championship. Like, Blue White's just been tearing it up, and I just think I think that it's like pretty clear. I mean, Blue White in the PSS didn't catch a single loss. Mono Blue also almost didn't catch a single loss until the very last game. It would have had a 100% record if not for
it went
Jeff
1-1.
It went 2-1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it defeated Fluctuator, Parfait, and then fell to Elves.
I forgot. Oh man, Will.
Yeah. So, that's that. My apologies out. I try not to make it personal, but Alvaro was just like, I understand where you're coming from, but that's really mean, bro. And I'm like, yeah, it is really mean. I'm like, I don't think less of you. You invented the blue Dreadnought deck. You're super powerful mage.
I don't understand what it means to be really mean in this context. If somebody says 2 + 2 = potato, it's not mean to be like, we have a word for that. And that word is fantastic.
I would say that the copium comment might have rubbed people the wrong way. I mean, he just was just like I just don't want to escalate.
You
right?
Don't to get people to listen.
Don't want to. Yeah, I know. Well, obviously you subscribe to that ideology, but I don't want to sling around the mud. I just want to carp on.
Was this some version of an apology?
No, it's not.
Is that what you're trying to do?
It's not really right, because it's like a really bad apology if I'm just like, look, everything that I think and say is basically right. I just shouldn't have told you that I thought that you were in denial. Like you can be in. There's just real.
So okay, we respect how Mike Arnold chose his decks for the PSS, right? He played a 62 card Secret Force deck, right? In honor of Jamie Wakefield, he played 62-26. He played an all weird alternate art unplayable Dead Guy Ale deck just to prank Will. And the bit was so good, Will didn't understand he was getting pranked. Okay,
and the kicker was that the next time the deck appeared, it was all old border. So he has 2 copies of Dead Guy Ale.
I mean, that Star Spangled Slaughter deck is inexcusable. But the others, we understand how he chose his decks.
He was an Armageddon away from the top 4 as well. So
I really respect that from that standpoint. But he obviously didn't choose the best decks, right? He chose decks that he could play weird versions of Tainted Pact, or he could call back to a strategy that wasn't good in 1997. Okay, right? Those are...
Shout out to Jamie Wakefield.
I mean, for real, right? But you respect it because he wasn't going for the throat, right? He was going for the bit, and he saw the bit through.
His first bit was actually going to be mono green, mono red, and mono black Ponza decks, and Flint told him no. I have no idea why Flint didn't just let him throw the PSS with full knowledge that Rich Shea was going to be playing a land tax deck and could very easily cue it into the triple Ponza gauntlet. He did not know that I was going to join at the time, but once he found that out, it would have been a really fun.
Why would you turn that down? That's hilarious.
I think that the PSS rule about no decks, your decks can't contain the same engine, seems to be a little bit flexible depending on the circumstances. Mox Diamond, of course, not being an engine. When it got pointed out in the PSS group chat, I was just like, hey, Lanny's got 12 Mox Diamonds. And I was like, well, the rules say no same card advantage engine, not no same card disadvantage engine. So
look, could you have played elves, red green? Could you play elves and red green? For example,
survival.
BK claims that red green shouldn't play squee. So the card advantage element of red green, it's not in my deck, Flint.
Well, it actually
There's no
isn't.
Squee.
It actually isn't written that it's a card advantage engine. It just says engine, but I just kind of skewed it to make my joke.
I mean, I could understand you're just like, oh, you can't. But I don't even know, man. You can go play both Full English Breakfast and Elves. Those are decks of remarkably different character, right? They're very. No one would look at those 2 decks and be like, these are the same deck, Flint.
Well. They have the same engine. I agree in the sense that if I played triple Oath decks, because you could play triple Meddling Mage, triple Cabal Therapy, who they were just straight up we're not going to do the Cabal Therapy rule, whatever. But they were still just no triple engine, so they weren't specific about it. But I would assume that would be pretty much no triple Gush, no triple Oath, no triple Survival, and no triple Land Tax, of course. But
no single land tax if I was in charge.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of where things ended up. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Triple Ponza is not really an engine. It's just like a strategy. Like you could have gone triple beatdown if you wanted to play like elves, or if you wanted to play goblins, mono black aggro, or like goblins, zombies, and
what if you were just like
Savannah Lions,
caffeinated 22 deck, goblins, and like I don't know, what's the most beatdown deck there is? Fluctuator.
We'll
right?
we'll have to take it out with the princes next year, I guess. If
I mean, like, no, are they going to ban? Oh, well, both decks play Mog Fanatic. Mike, we can't have 2 Mog Fanatic decks on one team. Yeah, they're going to win 0 matches between them.
Yeah, that's what I would have said about the Ponza lineup. But
oh no, that Ponza lineup would have caught some. I mean, his mono green deck is probably the equivalent of the mono green deck that's out now. Right, like
I don't think Ponza decks
8 disruption lands,
land tax. I don't think they really beat Dreadnought.
Yeah, he's not only playing Rich Shea every
they
round.
Really beat Goblins. Those are the 3 decks that Rich Shea brought in one lineup. It could have been
but he's okay. You're telling me that the mono green deck couldn't beat 12-12. It has Sphere of Resistance.
It probably
and Oath of Druids.
It probably still just loses. It probably
everybody loses to 12-12.
Yeah.
Let's say he's playing against Alvaro's list, which doesn't have meddling major swords to plowshares, right?
Well, then he's doing.
And
hopefully he doesn't get annulled, right?
Okay. What if he's just like first turn? I go like Mox, Forest, Oath of Druids, go. Okay. Alvaro has foil or no at that point. If he doesn't have foil, match is over. Right, he's like second turn, Sphere of Resistance.
Okay, let me tell you a story about a match I played. I was playing against Patrick Burt. Patrick Burt is sort of a pioneer in the mid-range Oath world, where he kind of built the green-white like Oath Out, Baloths, Exalted Angels, and Terravores. So like the no blessing mid-range Oath deck. So I played him in the monthly, the monthly that was like it was like probably June or the monthly right after LobsterCon or something like that. I was playing Grotalk. And so I lost game 1. I couldn't beat Oath. My Grotalk deck doesn't have any main board disenchants. And then game 2...
Do you have disenchants in your side deck?
Yeah, I had disenchants in my sideboard. So...
main board side deck. I'm just trying to make Mano...
You're just trolling Mano, yeah. Shout out. Friend of the podcast. He won't be in attendance on Saturday because he's playing Old School. What's the deal with that?
What?
Yeah. Let's just yell at Mano. Anyways, so then we played like a post-board game. I like disenchanted an Oath of Druids, and he's like, okay, cool. I'll play like another Oath of Druids, and I like disenchanted the Oath of Druids, and then like I finished the game, and he's just like, yeah, I can't really beat 2 disenchants. And I'm like, why can't you beat 2 disenchants? Like, lots of decks have 2 disenchants, and they might draw them. Like, what? And it's just like, yeah, it's really hard once I'm not sure if this was Bert or Ricky Thorson who was playing Green-White Prison Oath. Either way, I played against these Prison Oath decks, Green-White, Mono-Green. Sometimes you just cast 2 disenchants against them, and their 30 land Mox Diamond no card advantage deck like just floods out. Like, you know, they're like Sylvan Library. It's all writing on this. I got 2 cards left in my hand. It's like, okay, I'll disenchant it.
So on that note, I'll give away a piece of technology that I was saving for myself for some future meetup, but I probably won't play it this week because Zvi is going to be playing an Oath deck, and you know how I metagame for even a casual meetup. I don't think my Oath deck might not be able to beat his Oath deck, so I probably won't play it. Let's say you're playing the mono green deck, right? It's a mono green deck. It has a bazillion lands. Right now, it typically plays 4 Windswept Heath just to make the Terravore bigger. Like they have no planes, right? No planes. Just Terravore increasing.
No plans.
They have a plan. Their plan requires some complicitness on the part of the opponent. That's the thing, right? Like if the opponent doesn't agree to their terms, I think it's probably hard to win.
Yeah, but you ever tried a Thermocars to Basic Island? Do you think that one's gonna hit? Anyways, continue.
Yeah, you can do that. You just have to make sure your Sphere of Resistance resolves. Oh my God, I listened to the sentence that I just said. All right.
So you're telling me you're casting the Thermocars for 4 then, right?
I am, but it might not bounce. It might not bounce.
Okay.
So that deck just doesn't make any sense. I still was gonna play it. I bought the cards.
It's a sweet deck. It's really sweet. Like, you play it,
cool.
and once again, Margarita Pizza, man. All your lands are like, you just got good mana, and you just got cards. They all do the same thing. Thermal Karst might as well be opt in this deck.
I mean, like, eight disruption lands is sweet, man.
Yeah.
You just knock them around. Anyway, I think that instead of playing Windswept Teeth, you should just play Wooded Foothills. That's what I think. And then you just take out one of your many forests, because this deck has more than enough forests, and just play one mountain. Then in the sideboard, after sideboarding, you should take out your 4 Terravores and side in 2 Shard Phoenixes, or a Shard Phoenix and a Crater Hellion. Probably 2 Shard Phoenix, but you could do either one. And 2 Gaia's Blessings, maybe 3. And that you just have your different Oath deck in the sideboarding games. For example, I watched that deck go up against Goblins, and it can't kill creatures. So even if it blows up your land,
you watch this on Frank's YouTube.
I did, right? And he's just like lackey. They're like, okay, now they can just try to do like them. Sphere of Resistance, Thermokarst,
bust out the Sandstorm, bust
out
like
the
Quicksand.
all the rich ports of the world. Like, yeah, bro, hit you.
Guess we really need a Dismember in
Siege Gate Commander,
huh?
right? Like, okay, tap your mountain. Cool, man. Attack. Goblin War Chief. Right? Like, yeah, my guys all cost 1, right? So, how's your Sphere of Resistance doing when I don't cast any of my spells? So, anyway, long story short, I think that if you just were oathing out, because the other thing about a Terravore is it's powerful, but it's terrible at defense against a go wide strategy. They're just like, everybody's coming. Just like, Terravore just eats their one big guy, unless it's a pile driver, because Terravore might not want to rumble with a pile driver.
All right. How about this? So the core strategy, right? The core strategy is, so we're splashing red already.
I don't know how much I want to splash red. I just want to play a mountain, and then I'm just going to switch to Shark.
We'll just like splash red. Maybe the Carploosan Florist will get in there.
No, but if I'm a real red-green deck, I mean, I can do a lot of real things now.
Hear me out. This is going to be sweet. So, what's the plan? What was the mono green plan against Goblins? It was like, okay, I'm going to trigger Oath and put a 5/5 Terravore in play. I'm going to trigger another Oath, and then I'll have two 10/10 Terravores in play, and then I'll try to race. But the problem is, you probably got outraced in that situation, because you got to Oath out your Terravore, you block once, then you attack the next turn, then you have to like attack the next turn, and sometimes you have to attack the turn after that, depending on how lucky you or unlucky you are.
Does Terravore have the trample?
Yeah, Terravore has trample.
Woo!
Yeah, thank God.
Goodness.
Otherwise, it'd be an unplayable card. So
you imagine he didn't have the trample. So what if we gave him an additional point of toughness, but he lost the trample?
Yeah. Then you would have a different Largoyf. So
you think you'd play the Magnivore at that point?
Maybe. Yeah.
Anywho.
So I mean, Magnivore Oath is like a thing that people have tried. But what if with our red splash, instead of boarding in Shard Phoenix, we go even deeper and we pull out our sorcery printed in Odyssey. Target creature gets +3/0 and gains haste until end of turn. Flashback to an R. Reckless Charge our 2020 Terravore, send it directly to the face. In fact, let's just board out 2 Terravores so that our Terravores are bigger when we hit them. And we can Reckless Charge them into the Goblins.
I mean, you kind of need to have one of your relatively few red sources actually in play, or your mocks, for that strategy to work.
4 cards for Foothills, Mountain, and 4 Diamond.
It is kind of charming. I mean, gotta give you that. It is charming.
Can you imagine Land Diamond Oath go, opponent, not scared of that Oath, Mountain Lackey go. Okay, cool. Untap, mill 20 lands, land, flashback, Reckless Charge. I won on turn 2.
Can I imagine that?
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I'm in.
I'm.
Wait, you want to start that? I think that's less.
Should we just start combo?
No,
combo.
You can't start that.
I think
that's for like fluctuate. Actually, you can't. How do you beat Fluctuator?
You can't.
I guess if you had Sphere of
times
Resistance
several.
on turn 1
and Wastelands,
and then I guess Sphere of Resistance, Wasteland, and the Mana Disruption package. But I think you're just eventually going to lose, right?
Yeah, you got to get in with your Mishra's Factories, and you don't tax the cycling. So bring in your stabilizers. No.
I think if you just blow up their lands, then they can't just land their Fluctuator.
Yeah, but you have to do that. Like you have to do that while killing them, right? Because the classic Ponza problem is that you have to actually murder your opponent. You can't just blow up their lands and just hang out. Your Mishra's Factory's got to animate, and if you're spending 3 mana a turn to cast Stone Rains, and you can just get unlucky. Your opponent can just draw more lands, which is like my favorite way to outrace a Ponza deck. Actually, my favorite way to outrace a Ponza deck is to Intuition for Deep Analysis and just keep drawing lands with my Deep Analysis. But that's neither here nor there. Reckless Charge Terravore, give it a try. Shard Phoenix Terravore, maybe. Green red Prison Ponza Oath. I mean, you can just start running Stone Rain if you're on Stone Rain. Like, let's blend the mana base, okay? Why are we playing GG1 to destroy target land when we can play R2 destroy target land?
Well, the deck was mono green.
Well, it's a 2-color deck with matching color pair. So if you just with 4 boxes,
if you have more than 14 sources of green, I think a Thermal card. Well, so first of all, a Winter's Grasp is just better than a Stone Rain. But in the abstract,
but a Pillage is better than everything.
Yeah, but it's RR. I think like a Pillage is better, but
hear me out.
But it's much worse because it can be blasted.
4 Mox, 4 Carps, 4 Wooded Foothills, 4 Mossfire Valley. That's 16.
Oh, Mossfire Valley.
Get in.
I'm in. I only own 4, and one of them's in my Goblins deck. Should I order another Mossfire Valley?
You should order like 100 Mossfire Valleys. You should probably order like 10 of each filter land. I think filter lands freaking rule. I mean, you can even play Rith's Grove.
Okay, you guys are like way addicted to these stupid bounce lands. They're bad.
They're not good.
They're like actually bad, and they're like. You and Fran, you got Tom into it. You all have you all have one now. I think Fran had 2 in one of his decks that I saw. Like he's like, I've got a Ritz Grove and a Trevor's Ruins.
Yeah, let's go.
Why?
I've been kicking around.
Bad.
I just want to play Daragaz's Caldera because there's something about like the Jund colors that's just like, come on, lightning.
Okay,
just
Dromar
give me.
Cavern is good because it picks up a cycling land, and you might need to cycle. In order to not die this turn. That's the only one. Even if you were picking up a Tranquil Thicket in mono green.
It also casts all your Gilded Lights, Miscalculations, and Songs of the Damned, which is impressive for a land.
Actively good. It's the only one that is actively good. The other ones are not good. They're not even good compromises. I am all for like, oh man, this sucks, but we could. Here's our choices. We got a Gemstone Mine. We got a Reflecting Pool. We got a City of Brass. Pick one of them. Like
Thran Quarry, Mike.
Oh man,
Thran Quarry, Crystalline Sliver. Let's get in.
Oh my god, I watched Fran and Tom play some horrible, 2 unplayably bad decks. And Tom's Beast theme deck was like, you could actually make a good Beast deck, which is why I was like, you could literally make a good Beast theme deck in pre-modern, but he chose not to. He just chose to play like limited uncommon Beast theme cards from Onslaught block instead of, Spirit Monger's a Beast,
Anerid Brushhopper is a beast. Let's get that.
There are a lot of beasts.
Get that Rith's Grove out there so that we can run our Brushhopper, Baloth. How many lair lands do I need to play Brushhopper, Baloth?
None.
Red
the
Beast,
answer is none.
And
you could play
Spirit Monger.
Wooded Foothills.
Wait, so Jund casts all of these? No, it doesn't cast Brushhopper. So what casts all of these?
I know. Yeah, but you could probably play Bird of Paradise in this deck.
That's true. Not a beast, though. So not in the beast theme. Is there a Beast Lord? What's the Beast Lord do? Crozin.
The Beast Lord is Contested Cliffs.
Oh, yeah.
that's the Beast Lord.
That's actually a good one. I forgot about that card. That's sick.
I didn't. I love Contested Cliffs. What's really good is you could play a beast deck with Living Wish, and so you could have like a pocket beast of like all the beasts you want off the side. Like, I need some life gain. Let me
grab an extra Baloth.
Get a Baloth. Unless I need a lot of life gain, in which case I could get Phantom Nish, right? Like
Phantom Nish is a beast.
He's a beast.
And it can get its cost reduced with Crows and Warchief.
So, okay, we're not playing Crows and Warchief.
Regenerate target beast? Is that not good?
No, Lanny, we're playing
sweet.
Living Wish, but we could have a pocket contested cliffs in the side. Super gas.
All right, I'm in. 1.5.
Yeah, I know.
Bring in the beasts.
But I mean, I'm gonna break this to you. Exalted Angel is also not a beast, but she's in. She's on the squad.
She's honorary beast.
Like, I mean, you ever see her flip? She's a beast. Okay.
Yeah.
But she's on the squad. So
let's get an altar. Let's get an altar going. That's Exalted Angel, and all the angels in the backgrounds are like just Balos with wings.
So I mean, here's the deck: Bird, Elf, Living Wish. I guess if we're white, we could Brush Hopper this deck.
Brush Hopper.
We could Brush Hopper this deck. I don't like Brush Hopper though.
Brush Hopper is the most power toughness efficient creature in pre-modern, short of Spiritmonger. It's actually more efficient than Spiritmonger because 7/5 is better than 12 over.
He beat the BJJ out of Tom also. That was 1/3/4 Brush Hopper. Like everything like came up rich, right? Like he was just like 3rd turn Brush Hopper, 4th turn Armageddon, just like we drew it up in 1995.
Yeah, just like, with the 1 of Brush Hopper and the 2 of Armageddon, of course.
It was just always there.
Yeah, the frog came through. Hugely underrated card in pre-modern, I would say. Discuss Brush Hopper, great, bad.
All right,
great.
So I don't know if we want to be Brush Hopper and Exalted Angel and Spirit Miser.
We have so much. Like, what are we gonna do with our elf mana? Just like chill, and then we get to pitch our elves to the Brush Hopper later. I'm just saying in general, can't there? Like, I shared a Brush Hopper shell
like
with
all
you.
this.
What's that?
Call of the Herd, Beast Attack.
Beast Attack.
You like Call of the Herd? You're gonna love Beast Attack.
Oh man,
Beast Attack is gas.
I'm just like
it's 5 on both sides, instant speed.
You're just like sitting there. Your green, red, black, white opponent is like got untapped mana, 3 cards in their hand. You're like, I'm pretty safe. They're not playing instants in this deck. They're probably just got a handful of lands. I'm gonna send in my own Call of the Herd token because I'm playing Lanny Rock.
You're like
Beast Attack.
But then you have to go Best Attack.
Best Attack.
And then like when your 4/4 eats their 3/3, you're like, that was the best attack.
Oh,
they're like, actually, it was the best defense.
Was Beast Attack ever good in Constructed Magic? It had to have been, yeah.
It was played in like, me and Kibler had a deck that was just like 4 bird, 4 elf, Call of the Herd, Beast Attack, opposition, Fact or Fiction.
You're using those 4/4 beasts that tap down your opponent's.
I think it had Gush. And this deck had also. This deck's probably wild. I think I'm gonna make this in pre-modern. Like now that I'm saying it out loud,
Gush Beast
good.
Attack.
Gush Beast Attack, opposition, Call of the Herd, Bird Elf.
Oh wait, no, I actually love this. You're right.
Good.
I don't understand the gushes because you're trying to cast.
Excuse me.
GG.
Excuse me. It had Fact or Fiction, but I'm just saying it had Gush. But I think it should have Gush too.
It can't. It needs like 12 islands to cast Gush. How are we casting GGG2 with Beast Attack?
Well, we have to have like, okay, we're like 10 forest, 4 Yav coast,
10 island.
10 island.
Yep, that's it.
That is not a good Gush deck.
It's not. You'll need a lot of portents and impulses to find your island.
Oh man, but what our like interplay. Oh my god! Now I'm just getting worse and worse. Everything that I'm about to say is just worse and worse. I'm like, this is not a great counterspell deck. I'm like, should we play Prohibit? I'm like, yeah. I hate Prohibit.
Prohibit is in. Just wait until we get down the slope to Power Sync, and then you'll have.
Oh no, we were already all the way to Mystic Snake.
Yeah,
in my head,
Mystic Snake.
Okay, why would you Power Sync when you could Mystic Snake?
What?
Right, like the Power Sync is garbage.
This has got to be a playable deck, right? Just like blue green.
The thing I'm describing sounds awesome to me.
Blue green mid range. So you're running up the curb. What's on 2? Because we've got. I guess we skip 2. We just go Elf Birds, Call of the Herd.
Right. 2 opposition. Is Call of the Herd and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So on 2.
Oh,
well, there's no other 3-drop. Wall of Blossoms.
No, we have in our sideboard for terrible people. Ophidian. What if you're just like second turn Ophidian?
You probably just get Swords to Plowshares, I would imagine.
They didn't swords my bird. They're not swordsing my Ophidian.
They might not swords your... Well, that's a good point. Well, they'll probably...
0% chance if they could kill your bird, they didn't kill your bird. 0% chance.
So what if...
Instead, let's talk about how we're going to contain goblins.
No, let's just fold. We'll board out all 14 of our creatures and just board in Oath in Shard Phoenix. Done. Just every deck that can make green or red
we
mana.
can still like
red mana optional, mind you, just green mana.
No, what if we're Now we could like play a plains. We could play fetch lands on both sides. Play a plains.
Rith's Grove.
And we're not. First of all, we would play Trevor's Ruins, genius.
Oh, okay.
If that was a thing you were gonna do,
Trevor's Ruins.
We would play Trevor's Ruins. You are so on the Rith's Grove copium that you don't even see Trevor's Ruins when it's in color.
He said it. He said copium.
Okay. Yeah, I am so anyway,
I'm on Deep Analysis copium. Can we fit that in here? It's got flashback.
No, this
so we've got a bunch of flashback spells. Can we? Fit
this deck wants Factor Fiction to get them flashbacks into the graveyard with Factor. Could you imagine the Factor Fiction split you cast on the third turn? You're just like you flip over like 4 spells, 3 of which have flashback.
Okay. The opposition really has to tie the room together, though, huh? Because then
this might not be a great opposition deck.
But your deck doesn't do anything like. So I tried to build this deck. You know about this. I'm sharing this for the listeners. I tried to build a deck, and I alluded to this in previous casts, that was all in on casting turn 1 Ancient Tomb, Mox Diamond, either Call of the Herd or face down Exalted Angel. Turn 2 Blasted Urn, Urnum Jin, whatever. Turn 3 Armageddons or Beast Attacks, who knows. And I was just like, let's just send in the guys. Let's just freaking fill the board with fatties.
Animals.
With beasts, with like, and I was just like so in love with this idea. And then I just like started playing games. And I was like really good at attacking for like 8 or like 12 on turn like 3 or 4. And then I would subsequently lose to any number of horrible things that can happen to you in pre-modern. So I was kind of off it from there. But I honestly, I've been up at night thinking about this because I'm just like, Call the Herd. I want Wall. Like the reason why I was thinking opposition is still good because I think this deck could play Wall of Blossoms, Wall of Roots.
Yeah, I think Wall of Blossoms. I was thinking like that. That's good at the 2. You know what we could totally play, which would help in the Goblins matchup? Jungle Barrier. You ever played Jungle Barrier, Liam?
I have not played a Jungle Barrier. You'll have to
look it up.
Rifle this one.
Look it up. If you're willing to cast a Ravenous Spell off, you're gonna jump for joy on Jungle Barrier.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is a card. I remember this one now. I remember the art.
Yeah.
Jungle Barrier, 2 GU. That's 4 total converted mana cost. So hopefully we're alive. Defender. It's plant wall. It's on defense. When Jungle Barrier enters the battlefield, draw a card. It's a 2/6. It's not going to get in front of a Goblin Pile Driver because it's blue, but it'll hold back.
It means everybody else beats them the hell up.
A massive pull of mana caused all of Dominaria to pause. Multani had transplanted Yavimaya to Urborg's Edge, which is weird because it's a green-blue card and not green-black, and Urborg, whatever. Well, let's not get into the flavor. Okay, Jungle Barrier opposition. If I got Jungle Barrier, it's not doing anything against decks without creatures. I'm just going to tap them down with opposition. Well,
I think just having opposition might be great. Like that could beat up goblins.
Is it wall position? Is that what? Well, you know what has protection from blue? Well, no, but if you tap down the rest of the team, then it's just a 1/2.
Just put Wall of Blossoms in front of it. It's like not a big deal.
Okay, Oppo wall position, roots, blossoms, Jungle Barrier. We just need a flyer, right? Just walls and flyers. This is a great limited deck. So opposition.
Why do we need a flyer? We have best attack.
Best attack. Well, yeah. I guess it's like they might have ancestors chosen.
No, we need to stop. There's no way in the world this is not just better as a survival deck.
No, yeah. Good point.
Yeah, I mean, like this is why are we not spitting up free root wallas and drawing a card?
Yeah,
this is.
You're right.
Shut up, Mike.
And then we were there. It's funny because this was in the Discord where Fran was just explaining to people that they can't really play survival trade win or trade win opposition or survival opposition because the mana's horrible. You don't have enough green mana to operate survival. And if you're operating survival, you have one superb option and one quite good option in the forms of Priest of Titania, Anger, and of course Volrath Shapeshifter. So we're off it. We can't make a green deck that doesn't have freaking Survival of Fittest or Oath of Druids, which is fine. Those cards are banned in Legacy, by the way. So we had a good.
It was so hot for a minute, though. We were like really on it. I'm like, yeah, this is
Birds of
so
Paradise.
good.
I'm so like Birds of Paradise is sick, right? There's no 5-color fixing in pre-modern except for Birds of Paradise and Mox Diamond. And Mox Diamond, as we've discussed at length, despite being the best card ever, kind of sucks sometimes. So we got Birds of Paradise. It's not inherently card disadvantageous. You're gonna flood in the late game, but it's okay. Your opponent's gonna be dead.
Speaking of flooding in the late game, I watched this match that you and Tom played on Friday night. Did he complain to you after that match at all? You know, he drew 10 spells, 14 lands.
I'm surprised he didn't complain, but
really egregious.
I assumed that that's what he had drawn. For the listeners, Tom and I always brawling in the top 16s of the Magic Online series. Society. And this time we met in, unfortunately, the round of 16, so only one of us could get through.
So last week you played in the round of 8.
Last week we played the finals of a 16.
Oh, he was Goblins. You were Replenish.
And he defeated me, Goblins versus Replenish. This
in
week,
like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because you don't have to do physical shuffling on.
So it's just,
online.
it was all
and it was
ogre.
just over.
So this time we met in the round of 16. I am playing my trusty Grotog in consideration for the 1.5k due to the fact that it cannot be exploited by any Michael J tech. He can try to metagame versus Grotog, but I'm always going to have a shot. It's not going to be a good one, but it's going to be a shot. And plus,
you have like the very rockish rock with Grotog, right? Like this is just a straight 42% in every matchup.
I mean, I think
always got a shot.
I know I'm huffing the copium on this one, but I think you're at least a little cope on it because we tested that Goblins matchup and we split game once. That's all I'm saying.
Only because I didn't understand the strategy, but once you explained it to me,
once I explained to you that you should probably just do nothing. Oh, I'm not going to leak the strat. Not going to leak the strat. We played. I was playing Grotog. Tom was playing the latest from Brian Manalakis, Machine Head with Burning Wish. Game 1, I had 3 Quirion Dryads in play. Tom Matelski, Burning Wish, Perish.
For Paris.
0 Quirion Dryads in play. That game also included an unbelievable Soul Reed Cabal Therapy. He just Cabal Therapy. Blind Cabal Therapy. I've got 1 card in it. I've got
Fire Ice.
He's probably going to name Counterspell, right? Because whatever. He names Fire Ice. What card do I have in my hand?
Fire Ice. That's why it's worth the story. I mean, in game 3, that was the worst because you also spotted Thomas Psychotog.
Yeah.
So I was just like, what's going on? Why did Lanny let the Psychotog die? Yeah, so Lanny's attacking with a lethal Psychotog. Tom blocks it with some nonsense guy,
Mistress
right?
Factory.
Yeah, and then Lanny he has
I think priority.
28 cards in your graveyard. It was a lot, right? I'm just like, okay, this is just gonna be the Abyss, and then it just went to the graveyard. And the Mistress Factory
I just hit my pass button, and I was like, forgot how priority works.
And so I was just like, so I assumed you did something that you had a plan for, and I was just like, this is really weird.
Strange.
I assume he has a plan, but it's not a good. I don't know, man. With 2 cards in my graveyard for a full land, I mean, I take that. I'm like, so I'm just racking my brain. I'm like, why would Lanny not kill the Mistress Factory? You know?
I love the benefit of the doubt that you give me as a player. On the PSS, I had literally showed the webcam that Chroma Angel Wrath is in my sideboard, and then on commentary, you're just like, I've changed my opinion. Lanny is Hollywooding this entire thing. He's trying to make Jared feel safe, and all this stuff is in his hand, ready to go. 5, 7, 8 in consecutive turns.
I mean, Lanny, look, how much can I rip on you? I was the first one who's giving you kind of public props. You got picked ahead of me for LobsterCon in the draft on her podcast. You backed it up, lost only to your protege. Right? What if you didn't load that particular gun? Right?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
You're like, oh man.
Literally, I have
guns on this.
It's been months. It's been months since LobsterCon, and I did not think for a second until you brought it up that I just shouldn't have told Itai to come.
I mean, you're just walking by a random countertop, right? and there's just tons of guns,
crossbows,
with no safeties on them. It's like, I'm just gonna put bullets in this one. I'm sure no one will pick it up and start randomly shooting in my direction. Like, what if you just didn't put bullets in that gun? Who knows what would have happened? So anyway, so you backed it up, and then now, I mean, I tried in the PSS last year. I really tried. That blue-green stasis deck.
You didn't. I don't think you just didn't understand the stakes, right? You're like, I think at that time you're hot off your lobster con top 3. You're like, oh, Flint and Hoyt, they do this cool webcam thing. As I understand the story, as you tell it, you're just like, oh, hey, you know, that webcam thing's kind of cool. Like, if I'd love to play it. Yeah, it sounds fun. And then you're like in the back of the cabaret burlesque show, and you're watching Twitch VODs of Will Hurst playing Stasis at Misty Mountain.
And he lost the match. That's the other thing. He loses the match, and I'm like, I've got to switch to Stasis, but I can't just play regular Stasis.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm brewing this deck like while partying.
He's just got
and decks were already due the previous
lingerie clad nightclub performers in his face, and he's on Notes app. He's just like, okay, hear me, 2 guys
I was
blessing,
brewing it
1 thawing glaciers,
2 thawing glaciers, and I had no way to get green. I didn't even have a forest for the. It was. Yeah,
listen,
but that's the thing that happened.
What I love is that people try really hard to like give you grief over guys blessing Stasis, and it just doesn't work because you've given it to yourself. Like you can't. Nobody's a harsher
I don't know
critic.
what to tell you.
Yeah, it's you think it's fun to laugh at Flores. Imagine being Flores and having to wake up every day knowing that he threw the PSS 4 in the back of a nightclub. And then somehow didn't get invited back for 5. In fact, his good friend, maybe best friend, did instead.
Maybe good friend.
Very good friend.
Might win it this time.
I'm trying to think. I think the roll of dice thing is pretty valid because I think
that's how you got it.
I just have to get lucky. I just have to line it up. Rich knows that I have to line it up. I know that I have to line it up. Obviously, I have to play well, but like putting myself in a position to win.
I mean, so realistically, let me do this. I'm going to do this from my side because you are biased dice on this. Grow a Tog. Rich, plug your ears. Plug your ears, Rich. If you're listening, plug them right now. No listening. Grow a Tog can beat Goblins if Rich doesn't know the plan. Grow a Tog, I think, good shot against the other 2 decks. Very good shot against one of the other 2 decks. So it's a meme deck. It's a meme deck that happens to be good against 12-12. You ever tap a 12-12 with Fire Ice, Lanny?
I have, yeah. Still lost, but I did it.
You ever block a 12-12 with, let's say, a 12-13?
All right. So I did that. My opponent Vision Charmed the 12-12 after I blocked. So they traded a Vision Charm for a good chunk of my graveyard. But I did.
Yeah, but it was wasn't real cards, right?
Wasn't.
Like you were playing with house money at that point. All right, so that's the deck. Burning Parfait, we saw what Burning Parfait is going to do to Goblins. All right, great matchup. I don't know about Burning Parfait against Real Parfait. I don't know how you beat Zer's Weirding.
I probably can't.
I mean, probably the fact that it's symmetrical and that you have the same life gain capabilities as Rich. Says how you're going to beat.
I mean, I just need it, but I need that life gain in play, right? I need that life gain or a scroll rack in play or whatever. Although, what happens? Oh my god, I don't even want to talk about it.
So the way that it works is you both have to let the other guy get their guy's blessings, and then you deny the card that they draw with the guy's blessings. It's super annoying.
Yeah, I mean, scroll rack. Let's just not talk about what's going to happen in the Parfait Mirror because hopefully the dice comes up for both sides and we simply don't play the Parfait Mirror. Here's a fun logistical thing that's going to happen. I only own 4 copies of Mox Diamonds, listeners. I don't own 12. So after every match, I'm going to have to flip my webcam off and move my Mox Diamonds from one deck to the next.
You could just play like Phil Nguyen Mox Diamonds.
No, I can't play proxies on the PSS.
Well, it's obvious you have them there in the other deck.
Yeah, but Still not gonna.
Okay. Anyway,
it's still not allowed. It's just like
Anyway,
it's a viewer experience. I don't want to have a proxy mock stuff.
All right. So, great matchup against Goblins. Nobody wants to watch that match between Parfait. So I don't care who wins. If that match comes up as the first match.
Well, we know who's gonna win. Parfait.
If that match comes up in the first match, call me in an hour.
An hour is not going to be long enough.
We'll find out if game 1 is over yet.
Yeah.
That's that one. And then I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like 12-12 is a great matchup for you, but you probably could win.
I mean, I could win. Guess. I could win. I probably
doesn't seem great. Yeah. All right. And your third deck is Replenish. Can't beat 12-12. Can't beat Goblins. You claim that you can beat Parfait. Rich says that you don't. I think like Replenish is your biggest dog. Growatog has I think you have a 50% chance of winning the finals.
Yeah, I think I have a 50%.
Depends
depends on the dice. I think I have a 50% chance of winning, and I think that if Rich rolls the dice or if the dice come up in my favor, then whatever. But it's just like once I finish the spreadsheet, I'm sure the spreadsheet is going to say, Lanny, you have a 50% chance of winning, regardless of which. Yeah, but
just imagine you're just like, that's why you should roll the dice. So imagine your first matchup is just like Growatog against 12-12, right? Like that's your best Growatog matchup, and you just took out his best deck. That's awesome.
Well, right? What's more likely going to happen, right, is that we have 3 decks, right? And 3 decks, our 3 decks all each have some spread of hits and misses. Some have 2 hits, some have 1 hit. Deck has
your Replenish deck has but your Replenish deck has no hits.
No, my Replenish deck has 1 hit. My Replenish can hit Parfait. Rich elected not to play Parfait in the knowledge, like he actually gave my Replenish deck some respect. The deck that he gave 0 respect is, of course, Growatog. But
Growatog can beat his best deck.
I am understanding that. But anyways, what I'm saying is that none of our decks have 3 hits, right? So none of our decks are slam dunks. They can't anchor the lineup. They can't do anything. So ultimately, we're going to play 3 matches. We're going to get the draw, like the lineup draw is going to happen. No matter what happens, 2 of our decks are going to catch a hit. One of them is not going to catch a hit. So you can break serve by winning a bad matchup. Or maybe we catch one good matchup each, and we're both left with Replenish for the final game, for a final match. Maybe this, maybe that. But like I said, I think that you're right. It's going to wash out to 50%. No Nash equilibrium, no game theory. I will, of course, try to build the spreadsheet and see if I find anything else out. But that's kind of where I'm at right now.
You have to be able to guess which order he's going to play in.
Well, no, it's just, you assume that he chooses at random, and then you just see what would happen against a random opponent, and then you just kind of look at the trees and then be like, okay, well, can Rich select a line that's very advantageous to him? Can I counter that line? And then see if I have an unexploitable line. I probably don't. Well, I absolutely don't, right? There's no such thing as an unexploitable line. But whatever. I'm not good. I don't profess to be good at game theory. I did catch the Parfait versus Goblins draw. I did not catch the Replenish versus Parfait draw against Rich, which makes me fear Rich's game theory. But I'm excited. That match is going to be tomorrow, so you'll probably be listening to this podcast in the morning on your way to work on Monday, while I'll be maybe sleeving up my decks or something, or moving my Mock Simons around. But super hype, 7 p.m. Eastern, maybe 6:30, just because this is going to be a long one.
Just because there's 2 Parfait decks?
Yeah, there's 2 Parfait decks in the mix. We'll see about that. But and then 1.5K on Saturday. I still don't know what I'm going to play. Mike, of course, can't. As penance for
don't talk about anymore. Mike will be there. Lanny will be there.
Mike will be there. Lanny will be there. They will be playing decks. You can message me, but not Mike, directly if you want to join my Destroy Mike Force. I kept on drafting a message to Sam Black. I was like drafting my message. I was like saying I needed to tag Sam in. I was like, I need Sam Black to help me pick deck.
You need like a Destroy Mike Flores Discord or something?
No, I just need I was just like, look, Sam, if you happen to have one of these like absolute bangers that's just going to come out of nowhere and run a tournament and you're okay with me cashing in the clout for it, I will, of course, credit. Like, I couldn't figure out how to type the email because I was just like, Sam, what have you, like, I just wanted to go go to who's is it Q? It's M. Which one's the tech guy? I just want to go to the tech guy, right, and see if tech guy has some tech. And I just was trying to figure out how to word the message.
Q? We're talking about James Bond.
Yeah.
Q branch.
Q. Okay. I just wanted to go to Q, call up Sam, just be like, what's up? What's good? What are you brewing?
Do you have a boat that's also a pen?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Like. I have a space station that fits in a shoe.
I've got an intuition. This intuition can draw me cards. It can create 6/6 worms. It can battle screech. I don't know. Have you ever intuition for 3 battle screech? I'm willing to try. I don't have a lot of time, but I'm willing to try.
People quiet spec for that. Why don't you play the quiet spec combo deck? I probably can't beat that. I don't know how.
I don't know how to win with that actually, but we'll find out.
So what's it? It like quiet specs for battle screech, and it also has tireless tribe.
So it depends on the build of the deck. So there is a straight aggro control build that just relies on quiet spec for card advantage, and it has the tireless tribe. It does not have the about face. It just uses the tireless tribe to have traction on the board, and to pitch your flashback spells for tempo. To cast them advantageously. And then, of course, the build that made it into the top 8 of the LobsterCon side event was a more combo-oriented build that included the about face angle.
So you just like pitch 5 cards, give your tireless tribe 20 toughness, and then flip it to the face?
Yep, that's correct.
So that's like a 2-mana, 2-card combo.
It is a 2-mana, 7-card combo.
But like the other cards are any card.
I mean, that's true, but you only draw 1 card a turn unless you're casting Deep Analysis, of course. So credit to Flippy. It's called Flippy Birds, I think. He's a European player. He organizes a lot of the events out there. He organized the pre-modern event that's going to be happening at Eternal Weekend in Europe. Not sure where he's based. I'm just going to say Prague, Czech Republic, but it's probably somewhere else in Europe. He's always been brewing in the space of sort of Battle Screech, blue-white, You've got your Meddling Mages, you've got your Mother of Runes, you've got Battle Screech Quiet Spec Engine in there. You can put even a single Cabal Therapy in your graveyard if you have to. Really sweet deck. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Intuition, like we talked, when Sam was a guest on this podcast, he was like, I don't know if you like Intuition for AK in game 1 and then Intuition for Deep Analysis game 2 if you know your life total's under pressure. But I don't even know if Intuition for AK is a good play if your life total's under pressure. So we'll find out, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like so set on playing Deep Analysis or Anerid Brushhopper, but I also might want to play, like, if you get the message, hey Mike, can I borrow your Elves cards? Don't be surprised.
I have my Elves deck as all together.
I know.
I was just testing it.
Yeah, I'll just change it. I'll just change Blossoms for Roots, and I'll play 4 Blossoms.
I
know you have Blossoms. I'll just send you the list if I go that route. I probably don't because I've leaked it now, but that was going to be like my hilarious.
But I'm telling you, I just couldn't. Well, first of all, you want Roots because it makes mana to cast the.
I'm familiar with why you want Roots. I just don't like. I don't want to dive into another deck tech, but Roots is a mana source, and Elves has too many mana sources. So
yeah, but it's like it. I mean, that's just like saying, this car has automatic driving. There's, I don't want to use automatic driving. Then don't turn it on.
Well, no, you like the whole point is just like if you push the Elves deck into it has like, okay, let's break down the Elves deck. Here's bucket A. Bucket A is cards that produce mana. Bucket A consists of a million cards. Everything. It's actually easier to talk about bucket B. Here are the cards that don't produce mana. Survival of the Fittest, Wirewood Symbiote, some Drain Hermit. Kyrian Ranger produces mana.
Then Wirewood Symbiote does if Kyrian Ranger does.
Well, Wirewood Symbiote produces cards sometimes. Yeah, but yeah. So Wirewood Symbiote is a halvesy there. Et cetera, et cetera. So basically you have a deck that has 44 mana sources and 16 non-mana sources. I can't cut anything besides a mana source to add more mana sources because I'm just going to only draw mana sources. That's why I have Blossoms. Like, I understand that you're a turn behind.
It's a deck that converts mana into victory, like, instantaneously.
if it hits. But if you're putting yourself slightly farther away, because like the card that ended up getting cut for like the natural. I mean, the natural order is kind of like a mana payoff, but anyways, you went down on hermits, right? So if you don't play natural order, you could just play 4 deranged hermit instead of 2.
I was just playing 2 deranged hermits still, and I cut a well wisher. But like a lot of the time, if I had my Verdant Force in play, then my Cradle was just making enough mana that I was just hard casting multiple hermits in one turn, and then I would just attack with all of them because I'd anger. Like that's like you just want those lines, I think.
I mean, I agree, but I don't feel like they're as heavily as enabled. I mean, I don't know. Put it this way:
you don't need to have like escape velocity mana to do that, right? You just need to have a bunch of mana.
Yeah,
like a lot of the stuff that like the Elves deck does, you need escape velocity.
You're super ahead with the Verdant Force in play, though. I'm just kind of like talking about like I just want the material. Like I just would rather cast Blossoms and cast Natural Order a turn behind, because I can still cast Natural Order a turn ahead if my opponent decides not to interact with my first mana source. And if they do decide to interact with my first mana source, I think that's going to create enough space for me in conjunction with the wall to see it to my 4th mana source in order to cast Natural Order.
Why don't people play Rathalos? That guy was really good in Standard and in Block. He was much more popular than Priest of Titania in Block or in Standard, and now no one plays it.
I'm sure there's a reason, but I can't really say. But that's where I'm at with Elves. I just like Blossoms. I just think it's like a little bit grindier. Like Blossoms is kind of good because sometimes, you survival and you want to like, I don't know, you just like want to draw survival more often. You just like want to have more cards in your hand. You want to have non-mana sources is going. I mean, I can see a Wall of Roots, Wall of Blossoms blend, but Wall of Blossoms is going to be good in a lot of matchups where Wall of Roots, might be like a little bit mediocre, like in the grindier matchups. We don't have cool stuff like the One Ring to just solve all our problems. Although we have something better, we have survival. But either way, very, very hyped. Very, very hyped to do coverage the following week, Mike. That's going to be really sweet. I think we're going to produce a very high quality stream, and people are going to love it. So tune in on the 23rd, twitch.tv/Lanny. I haven't set a start time, but I'm sure it'll be somewhere around noon Eastern, and you'll be able to catch time walk coverage of the September 16th New York City 1.5K. If you're still considering it, there are, as of this recording, 3 seats available. So get registered, get in there. It is going to be a blast. This has been Spy Colony episode 14. Mike is going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat a burrito. Love Spy Colony.
I had a burrito last night. Me and Lan got burritos at like midnight. We tested for like 8 hours yesterday. It was gas.
After bonus, yeah, if you mentioned the testing session.
All right, bye. I love Mike.